Gah. 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 Hi guys. Hi guys. Hi guys. Okay, so chat room. Okay, so chat room. I have made the mistake of being late. I know. However, literally, who flipping care? We live on a rock. We live on a rock, floating in space. We live on a rock, floating in the middle of Wienerville. We live on flipping cars, guys. It's just, we're just on a walk. I'm going to react to your guys' videos today, as well as just some strange fun media here. It'll be awesome. You'll all love it. There we go. Volume 80, please. I have a video idea. Oh yeah, what's that? You said you had a silly streaming idea. What is that? What is that? I got distracted. What is that? Good. Good. Well, that was a game? Oh, my bad. My bad. Oopsie doopsie. My fault. What's your video idea? What's the video idea, Smile? We're so back. Chat, well, what are we so back? Let me find it. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good, chat. We're so back. Ew, what is Orca? I'll have you know that your behavior as of late has been, less than satisfactory. And I know you got a wife and kids at home, so I would hate to let you go. I would hate to let you go. But the last comment you made on the last stream was not okay, and I had to time you out for all 600 seconds, my friend. I don't want to see that happen again in this workplace, or I'm gonna have to call HR, and they're gonna take care of you. I'm sorry. Hey, look, I'm not the boss. You know, there's always someone up the pecking order. Listen, hey, don't look at me. Don't look at me. Deflecting the blame. Don't look at me. Just know that stuff that isn't okay in the workplace. Hey, Crunch, I have enlisted into democracy, which is hell drivers. Nice. Sabar, yes. It would be a shame if something happened to your wife. Yeah, it would be a shame. Real shame. What did Orca do? He said something very inappropriate. This first thing he said when he joined the chat the other day. So I had to time him out for 600 seconds, and he deserved the full 600 seconds. All 600 of it.
Bigman 0 RCA says the Emma tickle you.
See that kind of stuff? That's not gonna run. We're not gonna, no, that's not gonna run around here anymore. You see, there will be no more of that kind of talk in this work area. I hope we're clear. Are we clear? Am I understood? Good, all right. All right, anyways, guys, today we're gonna be reacting to your guys' videos. I have My Strange Addiction up here, but I'm really open to your suggestions more than just whatever I have. That's very rude, you're a meanie. See? Look at how your actions have consequences, huh? Also, they have new packs here. Not that anybody but me cares that's watching me right now, but Tracy McGrady, 100 overall. A 99 Victor Wembanyama. I need that in my life. Holy, all these cards are really good. Dwayne Wade, oh my gosh. Alex Caruso, 96. Oh, that's a good pack. That's a good pack. That's what I'll spend my money on. I spent all of it on the Austin Reeves. Not real money, obviously. I don't have that to spend on this game. However, the fake NBA 2K money, I spent it all to try and get Austin Reeves, like my favorite shooter in the game. On his pack, I spent about 500,000 of in-game currency I had saved up, and I didn't get anything. Not even anything good, not remotely at all. Especially not Austin. So, it's a real shame. It's a real shame.
Bigman 0 RCA says don't even worry about the kids, they yearn for the mines.
They yearn for the mine. Listen, buddy. Listen, buddy. Listen, pal. Listen. You need help. psychiatric, mental, physical evaluation, all of it, the lot of it, dude. You need all of it that you can get. In fact, we're gonna watch some more people who need help with My Strange Addiction. Let's take a look. See here. Let's take just a quick old look. See. Never heard.
0013 says it is surprising 2K allow this game to be free in PS Plus.
I know, right? What the hell? Let's watch some My Strange Addiction here.
My name is Josh. I'm 27. I live in Worcester, Ohio, and I'm addicted to eating glass.
What? This is the best of.
When I bite into the glass, I just get like a warm feeling, kind of get a little bit tingly.
What?
Normally when I look for glass to eat, I look for champagne glasses, wine glasses, light bulbs.
What?
The reason I pick these are because they're usually
what? Bro looks like Crunch. Shut your mouth, dude.
It's very gritty right now.
You're very gritty.
It's hard to describe. It sounds awful in my head,
say
the
that.
actual chewing. But I enjoy this a whole lot.
Yeah, that's the blood in his mouth.
There
yes.
isn't a whole lot of taste. It's more of a texture thing. It's
dude.
Like eating.
I don't taste either. I wouldn't eat glass though. What the hell?
Until you grind it down.
What's your deal, though, bro? Josh started eating glass 4 years ago. He consumed more than 250 light bulbs and 100 glasses, brother.
I didn't think it was real, and when I found out that it was, I was upset and scared.
I am a performer for a living. I do stand-up comedy.
Okay.
Glass eating
he might be me.
is not in my routine.
Chad, it might be me.
I actually came across glass eating in a book that I was reading. It was kind of scary at first, and then once I realized that it didn't seem to be doing damage to me, it got a lot easier for me to do.
Bigman 0RCA says it's UFR.
I'm worried about you. You don't know what that's doing to the inside of you. Like, most people are worried about having bad cholesterol.
It's not me for real. You shut your mouth,
Yeah,
buddy.
It's not like I feel anything. It doesn't hurt when I eat glass or anything.
Yeah,
Oh,
most people
okay.
don't know they're gonna
It
have
doesn't
a
hurt
heart
when I
attack,
eat
and they
glass or
have those all the
anything.
time.
Oh, that must make it okay then. That's
I've
chill.
cut my lips many times, the corner of my mouth. I've had pieces of glass in my gums. So there's very distinct possibility it could be cutting deep down inside my body.
So I don't know why you're eating it at all.
You know, I don't.
Why not?
I try not to do that.
Why not eat glass? Why not? I don't understand. It doesn't hurt him.
You can try not to do it, or you can just
or something.
not do it at all. Like, I don't understand why this is so hard for you.
Because you know, once I get in front of people, that I just get compelled to do stuff.
Yeah? He's being peer pressured into eating glass? Is that what I'm hearing?
I love reactions I get from people. I very rarely will do it alone.
Oh, he loves the reactions he gets from people when he eats glass.
I'm addicted to the attention.
My name
And they're
is
giving him
Mary.
more
I'm
attention.
46 years old. I live in Farwell, Michigan, and
Is this guy Crunch?
I'm addicted
No.
to eating cat food.
What? Cat food? Brother.
They just burst with flavor.
That's disgusting.
in your mouth.
What?
I mean, I just love them. One
you
for
mean
you.
Just burst with
One
flavor?
for Mama.
Mary's cat
That's
food
wrong,
craving
bro.
started 5 years ago after a
That's
difficult
nasty.
divorce. She began spending all her time at home with her 3 cats.
Her
Then one
3
day she had
cats?
the urge to
Dude.
eat a cat treat and was instantly hooked.
I start thinking about a certain flavor cat treat, and my mouth will water. These little square
Ew.
ones have a cheesy
Ew!
taste on. These
I'm
are
gonna
the
throw
beefy
up,
ones.
actually.
On a
I might actually
scale of
throw
1
up.
to 10, the crunch factor.
I hate this. I hate this woman. I don't like this one.
There's 4 basic food groups, and cat treats are not one of them.
Why not? Why not, though?
There's been days where I ate cat treats all day long and never ate any people food.
Oh, no, that's
That
messed up.
cabinet just calls my name and it'll say, Mary, come eat. And I'll go sit on the deck and eat some treats and watch some TV, eat some treats. I always keep a bag
What?
in my car and my purse.
She's got a...
Then we have
No, that sounds
bedtime
wrong. The
treats.
crunch
By that
factor,
time,
dude.
I've
No,
gone through a
not
bag or
me.
two.
Like
Mary
the
is
texture she's
unemployed,
talking
but
about.
spends
I
$200
think.
a month on cat food for herself.
I spend more money on cat treats than I do on regular food.
What the hell?
You take it out of mommy's mouth?
Ew! Ew!
Psych.
I don't
Cat
like
treats
her.
alone
I don't
aren't
like this
enough
woman.
to satisfy Mary's craving.
She's got
In the past
I got a
year,
problem
her
with her.
addiction has escalated to
I got a
want
problem
cat
with
food.
her.
It tastes and smells like chicken soup. Just like Grandma used
It's
to
not though.
I squeeze the spoon against
You're not supposed
the
to
side
eat
of
that.
the bag so most of the gravy gets in the bottom of the bag.
She's so disgusting. I'm sorry. I can't. I don't like this one. Go to the next one already. Quick.
My biggest problem is a bag of cat treats does not have for human consumption on it.
Yes.
What's it doing to the inside of her?
Exactly.
Treats should
My
not
biggest is
exceed
that's disgusting.
10% of a cat's total daily calorie requirement.
And I've been eating them for so long, and I'm fine. I mean, how could
I
they
know.
be
You don't know
I
you're
think
fine.
It's getting out of control a bit.
Oh yeah, well,
Bro.
I think it's very important.
She did not
that
just
Mary
do that.
gets
That's
some
crazy.
advice on how good or bad these treats are for her.
New games, how
I have a
idea
17-year-old
for
cat
crunch. What?
to prove that these are not harmful. Until somebody proves otherwise, I don't see no reason to stop eating them.
Oh, because it's disgusting. Because that's disgusting, lady. That's why. What's wrong with you?
My name's Patrice. I live in London and I'm addicted to eating bricks.
What? Average London resident, dude.
London is full of brick. The Houses of Parliament, Big Ben,
Bro,
the roads.
she's gonna single-handedly
brick
eat London?
is everywhere. I'm having this constant reminder of brick, brick, brick. It's always at the back of my mind.
She's bricked up? I'm sorry.
I've always got to have it. I've always got to go and get it.
Why? Why? But why?
When I eat brick, it's like a drug to a drug addict. You feel good for a while until you need it again.
Why is she eating
You can just hear
literal?
her go into town and it just crunch, crunch, crunch. You get like a little cringe feeling, and like, you know, when you hear it, you know. But obviously to Patrice, it's heaven.
I started eating brick in my late teens. I got the idea to do it from my grandma, who told me that my auntie and uncle, when they were kids, they used to dig the wall and taste it. One day I ended up trying it myself and I couldn't really stop.
Yeah. She's got an issue, and I don't appreciate it. But you know, it's not cat food, so it's not as disgusting, I'd say. In my personal opinion.
Throughout
Crunch,
the
crunch,
day,
crunch, crunch.
this
Yes?
is about
What's
how
up?
much brick
What's
I
good?
consume. I eat brick from my bedroom, my grandmother's bedroom, and the bathroom.
This is really distressing.
Hannah's going to give me a video recommendation, I think.
This is the part she did. And not a whole lot she take at once. She take little by little and she put it to the back of her mouth.
She take a little bite and put it in the back of her
I
mouth.
know.
Yeah, of a brick.
This is a
Awesome.
poster I'd use to cover up the evidence. I use different tools, screwdrivers, scissors, whatever I can to get the brick out the wall so I can eat it. It's
Oh,
taken
just
4
quoting the
months to make
video?
a
Oh,
3-foot
okay. Awesome.
hole in my bedroom wall, roughly in about a year, I would say. I could finish that whole wall.
Usually what I do is just store a lint roll in it. And
What?
sometimes hair be in there and I have to pull it out. I should be able to lick it like that and nothing get caught on my tongue. But he is ready to go.
Eat, please.
My name is Jennifer and I'm addicted to eating mattresses.
Okay.
I like my mattress plain and straight up. I know mayonnaise, butter, none of that. There's like a hard texture.
Why would
like
you
my
put-
taste buds to go, you know, kind of.
Oh, she likes her
like
mattresses
a
straight
good
up,
salt.
Chad. In case you were
When I
wondering,
found out that
compared to
Jeffrey
the people who like theirs with
I was just
mayonnaise and butter.
dumbfounded.
Yes,
I
of
was like,
course.
oh. It blew my mind that she did that.
Every little detail.
Hold on. I make sure like when my mom's not gonna be in her room, or I could be in her room. So like.
Chad,
say
I'm gonna eat
she's
your
in the
mattress
shower,
if you don't behave. If you don't
tiptoe
behave, I'm
in
gonna eat
there
your mattress.
To get it. The reason why I'm not eating my own mattress is because I ate my mattress already.
What? That's crazy. That's
I
a crazy
started
thing
off
to
with
admit.
the good stuff to me is the pillow top itself. Then I go down to this part.
Bro,
I cut
how do you
it.
eat an
After that,
entire
I just start
mattress?
ripping it as I go.
The whole dang
Get to a
thing?
piece. I'm done with the mattress when it smells funny, or if I get down to where it's just springs. I I usually, when I crave to eat some mattress, it usually be after 2 o'clock after I eat. I'm urged. I need an urge. I gotta have it.
All right, Hannah recommended me something. Let's stop watching this lady who's literally eating a mattress.
Today we're going to be talking about the 6 unsolved deaths of the Kamar Daban incident.
I want to hear about the Kamar Daban incident, chat. I don't know what this is, but I'm interested.
To the Kamar Daban Ridge
this sounds
in
hype.
southern Siberia. After departing for their trip on August the 2nd, the hiking crew would never be seen again. That is, save for one member who managed to get away that day. However, her account is both troubling and raises more questions.
Oh wait, that was just the thing at the bottom. Oh, I see.
So we're going to take a look at the story, the accounts of the survivor, as well as other
now
people
I can eat my
who were on
food.
the mountain that day, as well as take a look at what evidence there is.
Food and
in
YouTube
order
plus
to try to
crunch
make some
commentary.
theories.
Could you ask for a better
now, before I
combo?
get into it, I want to mention that 2 of my friends who do great work in this creepy horror side of the internet that I'm in, Nick Crowley and Cadaver, have both done fantastic videos
not
about
watching
this
them.
incident as well, and their video link
sorry.
will be in the description. So if this
I
story
generally
interests you,
couldn't
I encourage
smile.
you to check them out, as they both really nailed the presentation of it. So if you're interested, stick around after the ad, as we're going to break down what might have really happened that day in the Siberian wilderness. So how about before I make your life worse
What happened
by filling your head
in the
with more
Siberian
depressing
wilderness?
knowledge, let's talk about something not depressing.
It might have just been me, chat, low key.
Like galaxy lamps. Galaxy lamps is the
No!
compact projector that allows you to turn any room into a light show. This hiking group in question was led by the experienced Ludmila Gorovina. She was an experienced survivalist who spent most of her free time in the mountains and was known for training people in wilderness survival. At the time of the incident, her daughter, who was only 16 years old, was leading her own groups up the same mountain as well. On this hiking trip, she was joined by 6 of her students, those students being Timur, Alexander, Dennis, Victoria, Tatiana,
I bet Dennis killed
and
him.
Valentina.
I'm calling it
Ludmila
now,
was very
Dennis.
meticulous
Dennis
when
did
it
it.
came to the planning of these trips.
Screw that guy.
Doing things like getting the group
All my homies
together
hate Dennis.
in order to do preliminary training months in advance. And even doing things like plotting out the specific caloric intake that they would all need for their days in the wilderness. Now, the Kamar Daban Pass is a fairly popular hiking spot in southern Siberia. As a matter of fact, the same day that this hiking group went out to make their voyage on August the 2nd of 1993, there were 3 other similar groups on the mountain that same day. Despite it being August,
okay, I should be
the
respectful
trails
then.
of
These
the
people
Kamar
actually
Daban
died, huh?
region are so elevated that it's not uncommon for the
I still think it's
temperature to
Dennis.
get around 30
My
even in
bad.
the summer months. However, for experienced hikers who packed warm jackets, this wasn't an issue. The goal was for the group to set out into the woods on August the 2nd, spend about a week before making their way back to civilization.
They mysteriously
around
disappear.
August 9th. As mentioned, Ludmila's daughter was leading her own hiking groups, and on this day she was one of the other
Probably
3
Dennis,
groups who
that
was
little
on the
I
mountain
knew
as
it.
well. Ludmila and
That
her
son of a
daughter
gun.
had set up a plan
He loves to do that.
throughout the journey they would cross several intersection points so that they could meet with each other, make sure everyone's okay before continuing their journey. Everything seemed to be fine on the first 2 days of this journey until on August the 4th when a heavy rainstorm hit. The other groups who were on the mountain said that
Probably
the
got
rain
landslided.
and wind was intense, even blowing down trees and causing tents to be picked up off the ground. The next day on August the 5th, Ludmila's daughter
won't survive.
waited
Crunch
at
20
the
minutes
next
later. Oh,
meetup
somebody
point
died. I
that
should
her
probably be
mother's group was
respectful.
supposed
Whoops.
to come to. However, Ludmila never came, and her daughter just assumed it's because they were slowed down by the rainstorm. Her daughter, not yet knowing of the tragedy that happened on the morning of August the 5th.
Me neither.
Ludmila's group didn't make any of the other rendezvous meets they were supposed to after that, but again, her daughter just assumed it was because of the rainstorm. That was until August the 9th when a group of kayakers were making their way down a river in the region, came across a girl who was standing on shore and screaming for them to help. Whenever the kayakers stopped to see if she was okay,
It's actually kind of
she immediately
terrifying.
ran to them and began hugging them and crying.
What
This
happened?
girl, who was later identified as Valentino Udovchenko, said that her entire group had been killed and she was the sole survivor. This group of kayakers took Valentino with them.
By
and
who?
The next day on August the 10th, she managed to make it to a police station and tell them what had happened. However,
Evil Bros? The
bizarrely,
Evil Mountain
the
Bros?
search
Who
didn't
did that?
begin until 2 weeks later. And then 2 days after that, on August the 26th, the bodies of the 6 others were found. The bodies were all found in a clearing above a nearby tree line.
Well, she's definitely
They
number
were
one
all grouped
suspect.
within
No
a few
offense.
hundred feet
Bigman
of each other.
HANA says
And
crunch
considering
when
that
you
they had
learn
been
her
left
story. I want
outside
you
for
to try
nearly
and
a
guess
month
what
at this
caused the
point,
deaths.
were in various stages of decomposition. After
I'll
the
do
bodies
that.
were brought back, they were all diagnosed as hypothermia being the cause of death, save for Ludmila, who was diagnosed as having a
Hypothermia?
heart attack. We'll
Heart
poke holes
attack?
in this and look at further details in a minute, but I'm just getting the main narrative out of the way first. Suspiciously, despite the cause of death being ruled as 6 cases of hypothermia and 1 of cardiac arrest, they also found signs of pulmonary bruising, pulmonary edema, as well as protein deficiency. The diagnosis of hypothermia as well as the protein deficiency led several people in the local media to say that Ludmilla had been arrogant and brought these kids into the woods and ended up killing them. The primary narrative of people at the time was that she was too hard on the people that she was hiking with, and considering that some of these kids were as young as 15, she essentially pushed them too hard in the midst of a rainstorm, and that's what caused them to die.
I think what caused these people to die, and the reason that they got frozen, and some died of heart attacks, is an avalanche or a landslide of such, or perhaps, if we're getting really crazy here, perhaps we're talking cannibal tribe. Perhaps cannibals attacked them. No, that would make sense. They'd be eaten. They wouldn't find the bodies. No. Yes, landslide.
Valentina rejected this. However, she
I haven't heard
would
the story
not
yet.
give
Okay.
her account
Tell me when
of
to
the
guess.
situation for 25 years. Valentina told her story to the police, and then a year later finally told her parents, to which telling them the story caused her to have a mental breakdown. She moved far away from the region, but even then was harassed by members of the media as well as investigators for decades to come.
I want to
Finally,
know
in
too.
2017,
No offense.
after 25 years, Valentina told her side of the story
Thank
to
God.
a reporter. According to Valentina, everything was going well up until the rainstorm previously mentioned on August the 4th. That night, the group was unable to start a campfire. However, they managed to set up 2 tents and go to sleep, despite being rather cold. The next morning, they did manage to start a campfire and had breakfast before they set off on their hike. At this time, they had already made it to the highest point they were going to travel and was beginning their descent. It wasn't long after packing up camp and beginning their descent down the mountain that they heard Alexander scream at the back of the group. Whenever the group turned around, Valentina said that Alexander was bleeding from the mouth and eyes. As he continued to scream,
Technically
he began
unsolved?
to
Oh,
froth
okay, so I
at
can listen to the
mouth
whole thing.
before he fell on the ground and started convulsing. This caused everyone to panic except for Ludmilla, who ran to him and tried to help. Ludmilla ran to Alexander and told the rest of the group to go wait in the tree line to make sure they're safe. However, as soon as the rest began to move, they heard Ludmilla scream, to which they turned around and the same thing was happening to her. The blood from the
said, because this story is technically unsolved because it hasn't been confirmed, but like it's definitely known. Oh, my bad.
eyes and mouth, as well as the frothing and convulsions began. The group immediately ran to help
frothing.
the two, with Tatiana arriving there first. However, it wasn't long until the same thing began happening to Tatiana, with the added mention that she was scratching her throat as well. Valentina ran to Tatiana to try to drag her away because
they all got
began
rabies.
to realize maybe there's something in that specific spot.
They got
which,
rabies.
As she was, Tatiana bit Valentina, causing her to let
They got
go.
rabies.
It was then, according to Valentina, that Tatiana crawled over to a rock.
I got
and
it figured
began
out. They got
bashing
rabies.
her head on it until she quit moving.
They got
four that were
rabies.
left began to panic. Valentina froze in place while Dennis went to hide behind a rock. The two others, Victoria and Tamur, began to run down the hill towards the tree line when all of a sudden they were both overcome at the same time. The same symptoms as Tatiana occurred to them, from bleeding from the face and the scratching of the throat. However, they also began to strip their clothes off. Dennis
rabies
ran to
can be
Valentina,
crazy, man.
Managed to shake her out of it and said that they need to get out of there. And as they were running, Dennis began coughing and spitting up blood as well, to which Valentina panicked and just kept running. She made her way deep into the woods, to which she set up a small tent and slept for the night, expecting the same thing that killed the rest of the group to kill her as well. However, when she woke up hours later, she realized that she did have a chance to survive, and if she was going to
isn't
do
rabies?
that,
Oh.
that meant she had to
That was
get
like my
food.
final answer.
So she made her way back up to the hill from where the
Mushroom?
group came from and scavenged
Is
the
it an
food
invasive
off of the
fungus?
bodies. Whenever she went back to the bodies, they were all lying in the same place that she had last seen them, and she was able to take things she needed from their supply bags without being overcome by whatever.
Maybe it's a hallucinogenic. Maybe where they slept. They said they weren't. Okay, whoa. They said they weren't able to start a campfire, so possibly that could mean that they're. But they were able to start it the next morning. Okay, that could be due to like a lack of oxygen or something of the like, because fire has a hard time not starting in oxygen. Pretty sure rabies doesn't make you bleed from your mouth crunch, but if you've been breathing in a lack of oxygen for a long time, that could. You haven't got all the info yet? Keep watching? Okay.
Took them. She knew that power lines ran along the ridge.
I'm on some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure detective type mode right now.
The power lines until she managed to make her way to the river, to which she was spotted.
I'm going like, wait, they couldn't start a fire. That's it. His stand weakness is that he needs oxygen. Okay.
By the kayakers 4 days later. This is a very different story than everyone dying of hypothermia. However, this account does match with the details of the group being in an open area a few hundred feet apart from each other, but the bizarre symptoms of their death
JoJo's Bizarre
make a lot of sense. So now that we have all the
Bizarre,
official
huh?
records of the story as well as Valentina's account,
It was a stand
let's
attack.
look at some of the evidence that's here to see if that can help us figure out what
I'm
happened.
all too aware.
The first thing I want to do is poke holes in the hypothermia theory. Yes, they were in a region that is cold even in the summers.
Yeah.
However, this was a very experienced group of hikers who had done hikes similar to this and much worse than this many times in the past. And while the rain was unexpected and does make the trip more difficult, there were several other groups in the region who didn't have a problem. Regional guide at the time, Valery Tartanikov, in regards
Also,
to
the
the
whole
situation,
hitting the head
said
in the
that
rock
it should have
thing.
been totally impossible for them to freeze to death in the middle of August, especially since they were able to build a fire that morning. And whenever researchers found the bodies, they went a little ways up the hillside and found the spot where the fire was built. So yeah, it was cold the night before from the rain, but there is actual evidence as well as Valentina's account that they were able to warm up around the fire the next morning. And several investigators in the case have noted that they weren't properly prepared for a cold rainstorm. And while that may be true, everyone in the region was underpacked because no one expected a rainstorm. And again, they all made it out okay. And to really put the nail in the whole hypothermia theory, the deputy head of search and rescue at the time in that area, Leonid Ismailov, said that upon investigating the bodies, they all had sealed plastic bags that contained cold weather gear. So however cold they got,
Yeah,
they
the
didn't
deadly
think
pee-pee
it was
poo-poo
cold
disease,
enough
you're
to
right.
break open a plastic bag that had warm clothes and a sleeping bag in it. So the official account is that they all froze to death, but didn't think it was worth unpacking their sleeping bag or going through the trouble of changing clothes. Not to mention that Valentina survived the freezing cold and then another 4 days by herself in the same climate, as well as, again, everyone else who was on the mountain at that time. Here's the other
So it's
thing.
not hypothermia.
Hypothermia is a notoriously hard to determine cause of death during an autopsy. And
Yeah.
while there are symptoms that point towards
I think it's a
hypothermia,
hallucinogenic.
like
Maybe
frost,
shrooms were
erythema,
nearby.
or Wisniewski spots, these are only seen in some very extreme cases of hypothermia. So that doesn't mean that just because a body does not have these signs that it wasn't killed by
Detective
hypothermia.
Crunch.
So on this very hard to diagnose cause of death, what was the medical examiner's official reasoning for calling it hypothermia? He said that it was, quote, signs of general cooling and no nutrients in the
Exactly, that's
muscles.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Signs of general cooling can mean literally anything, as in it was cold. And while a lack of nutrients in the muscles can be credited to hypothermia, it can also be credited to things like a lack of protein or just general fatigue. So even if you don't take Valentina's account of what happened into account, through the evidence we are given, I think we can safely throw the hypothermia theory out the window.
Right.
The other popular theory was the theory that was believed by most at the time, which was that Ludmila's arrogance caused the death of the group.
I don't
The
think
evidence
so.
for
She
this
said they were
is
murdering
things
each
like
other.
Local trail
They might have
guides
burned some
that
shrooms and
Ludmila
sniffed
would
it in.
regularly take groups into the mountains and come back early because they couldn't take the intensity of the trip. And whenever they found that campsite I mentioned earlier, which was the last campsite they set up before the group began to die off, they only found one empty can of beans there, which led people to believe that she made one can of beans and made all 7 of them eat out of it, so she was starving them. However, Valentina heavily resents this theory, and as a matter of fact, this
I'd
theory
say
is one
so.
of the main reasons that she took so long to tell her side of the
I'd
story.
be pissed.
Afraid that the outlandish nature of it would cause people to think that she was just covering for Ludmila.
Right.
However, as Valentina points out, these people were friends for a long time and had gone on several trips together. She says that Ludmila was so specific about the group being well fed that she had plotted out how each of them would intake 2,400 calories each day on their journey. However, I keep saying this, but it keeps being the hole in all of the media's main theories. No matter how hard she was on them or how much of a bad idea it was to be on the mountain at this time, a lot of other people were on the mountain at this time, including Valentina, and they were all fine. The other point of evidence people point to say that Ludmilla caused their deaths is that detail I mentioned earlier, that they each had a protein deficiency in their system at the time of death. But according to Valentina, as well as other hikers who knew Ludmilla, she was known to go up into the mountains and forage for things like golden root, which is a plant
yeah,
that
that's
can
what
be
caused
eaten.
it. That's
so they
the
were
problem.
taking in calories and eating, it just wasn't necessarily protein, which would explain the protein deficiency. And whenever the hikers' bodies were found, they all had golden root in their backpacks, which further disproves that theory. Also,
Golden
as
root?
a final weird note in all of this,
What is that?
So whenever the bodies were found, the mention that Valentina had that 2 of them began stripping off their clothes, that was seen as one of them was just wearing an undershirt and one of the guys had just taken his shirt off completely. However, perhaps more bizarrely, 3 of the bodies had taken their shoes off. Now, if you're going with the hypothermia theory, there are some weird cases of people freezing to death in the wilderness.
Golden root is a
in their
food you
final
can
moments,
forage
they
and
began
eat,
taking
right?
their clothes off.
I figured
but that's
it
normally
was probably
in
some sort of
cases
mushroom.
where someone's been freezing over the course of a couple weeks, and in their final moments have like this final adrenaline rush that overcomes.
So if they can, they're in an area where they can forage for food. There could totally be hallucinogenic
to the
shrooms.
point of death.
That's
got to
be it, right?
For some reason, who was able to run for 4 more days
It's a
by
root?
herself. The idea of these people being too
Not a
weak to walk,
mushroom?
but
Well,
then
yeah,
they
but I'm
suddenly just
saying
throw off their
there's
shoes
got to
and
be
die.
mushrooms if
It's
they
kinda
can get
weird.
stuff like that.
Plus, and this is probably the most obvious thing you're thinking of at this point.
There's
in the
edible
story,
wildlife
all
around
the bodies
already.
were found in a few hundred feet of each other, going towards the tree line. So the chances,
No, I
if
did not think it was a
hypothermia
mushroom.
or starvation
I
or
was connecting
whatever,
the dots of
all
wildlife,
of them
guys.
getting really ill and collapsing in like the same short span of time, again, except for Valentina, who lived for another 4 days, doesn't make any sense. Also, keep in mind, all these theories are assuming that
They burned some
Valentina made up
mushrooms.
her entire
That's my theory.
story to either cover
Or
for
Momo attacked.
Ludmilla
Could have
or
been
just
Mo.
a troll, I guess. So now that we've gotten rid of the normie theories, let's talk about the cool, weird internet theories, to which there's only one I would really put any weight to. The first of which was mentioned by members of the
Final
search
answer,
and rescue
shrooms.
crew, is altitude sickness. Altitude sickness is whenever
said
someone
maybe they
gets
were
to,
losing
like,
oxygen.
low pressure environments in very high altitude.
That's what I said.
And it can cause heart issues and breathing problems. However, altitude
But the bleeding and the
sickness
taking
that
off your
would kill
clothes,
you is only
I think
in
it's
really extreme climates.
could be
and altitude
rabies
changes.
or
And the
perhaps
bodies were found at 2,300 feet above
shrooms
sea
even.
level, which for one isn't that high up, and also this was on their way back down. So if they were going to experience altitude sickness and all die at once within a few hundred feet of each other, they would have done it way further up the mountain. And even the search and rescue crew who found the bodies said that this is a pretty far reach. Another theory is the idea of food poisoning. As mentioned, Ludmilla was known for foraging for food on the journey itself, and would
There
eat
it
things
is.
like eat mushrooms. So
Mushrooms.
one of the theories is that she fed the group bad mushrooms.
Yep.
However, she was very experienced with foraging and probably
They
wouldn't
burned
have
the
made
bad
mistake of
mushrooms. They
eating
didn't
a
eat
super
them.
dangerous plant. In the research I did into golden root, it is possible for some strains of golden root to be bad and cause you to become ill.
Aha.
However, like worst case scenario, if you were
Definitely
to eat
the
pounds of
beans
bad
that did it,
golden
yeah.
root, is you would probably throw up and get a headache, and that's like it. So if it was food poisoning, it would have to be something that was a one-off standalone event, like that specific can of beans being contaminated, and again, Valentina not touching it. So circumstantial at best. Another theory is ozone poisoning. The idea
Ozone
that
poisoning.
it rained a lot and caused parts of the ozone to come down and poison just them and no one else. One of my favorite theories that I don't think has any weight to it is the idea of infrasound. See, this case is so weird that people in the region have said, well, maybe, you know, it was a big windstorm. The wind had the perfect speed passing through the mountains that it made an infrasound that caused their brains to like explode or something. There is the theory that the military murdered the entire group, and
That's
Valentina
possible.
was, I'm not kidding, forced to sign an NDA saying that she didn't see
No, that's
anything,
totally
and she
possible.
made
That's
up
not
the
even
whole eyes and mouth bleeding
That's not even
story.
much of a
So
conspiracy
the
anymore. They
idea
do that
is
stuff all the
that
time.
The military wipes
That's totally
out an entire
possible.
group of hikers and the leader. And
Maybe
then
they
sees the
found
one
something when
girl
they were
who
hiking like a
survived and is
government
like,
base.
Hey, sign this legal contract. And of course,
Yeah.
the theory that they were murdered by
That's
the
true.
Yeti,
They would have just murdered
which
her
for
too.
some reason seems more plausible than the military one. Because
Yeah,
if it was me,
you're
I
right.
would feel more obligated to sign an NDA from a Yeti than I would the government. The final theory,
Unless, does
which
she
is
have
the
any
only
government
one I give
relatives?
any amount of credence
Maybe
to,
somebody knew her.
is the nerve gas
I was like, we don't want to kill
It's
you.
no secret that in the
You know?
past, especially during the Cold War, Russia developed several biochemical weapons.
You are not
Nerve
a
gas
baller? Okay, watch
specifically
this.
Can enter through the mouth
Watch
or
this.
skin in some cases, and whenever it's taken into the body, can cause symptoms like blood from the eyes and mouth, as well as frothing and convulsions.
Dude,
This would also
frothing?
explain details of Valentina's story, like people scratching at their throats as they were dying, as they would have been able to
Green
literally
FN.
feel the lining of their lungs and throat peeling off and
Wait, this
coming
one
out
is
as
basically
blood.
correct? I need to hear this
again
one.
want to mention containing specifically can enter through the mouth or skin.
What can?
In some cases. Leader, and then sees the one girl who survived and is like, hey,
I need to hear this one.
sign this legal contract. And of course, the theory that they were murdered by the Yeti, which for some
The
reason
Yeti!
seems more plausible than the military one. Because if it was me, I would feel more obligated to sign
Holy,
an NDA
that's
from
gotta
a
be
Yeti
it.
than I would the government. The final theory, which is the only one I give any amount of credence to, is the nerve gas theory.
Nerve
It's no
gas, that
secret
could be
that
it.
in the past, especially during the Cold War,
Yeah.
Russia developed several biochemical weapons.
Yeah.
Nerve gas specifically can enter through the mouth or skin in some cases, and whenever it's taken into the body, can cause symptoms like blood from the eyes and mouth, as
Yeah,
well as
I should have thought
frothing
of
and
that.
convulsions. This would also explain details of Valentina's story,
That
like
makes
people
sense.
scratching at their throats as they were dying, as
Yeah.
they would have been able to literally feel the lining of their lungs and throat peeling off and coming out
Ow.
as blood. I again want
Nerve
to
gas
mention
makes
Cadaver's
sense.
video on this topic because
So,
he had
I said it was a
very
hallucinogenic,
plausible
but I didn't
route
think
for
of
which
that.
This could have happened, in which he found evidence that a chemical weapon known as Novichok, which is a type of nerve gas, was in development and testing up until 1993. And it's not a secret that many of Russia's weapon testing was conducted in the Siberian mountains. And
Ah.
while, yeah, it would have been way too high vis for the government to just be like, oh, let's test out this nerve gas on these 7 random hikers, we know that they were developing Novichok in 93
Yeah, it could have gone wrong.
and quite possibly in the region. So what's to say there wasn't a kind of gas leak?
Yes,
Nerve gas
that makes
can
sense.
take 4 to 5 months to fully evaporate. And Novichok specifically, as mentioned by Cadaver, is incredibly lethal and can even be absorbed through the skin. So it would only take very trace
Drawn on
amounts
screen.
of it in order to kill someone. Furthermore, gases like nerve gas are particularly heavy in the environment and tend to lay low near the ground. And weaponized gas forms like this are very pliable to rainwater.
I like
In
that
other words,
theory.
if you have a
That's a good one.
contaminated area and then it
That
rains,
one makes sense to
that
me.
will cause the contaminant to flow out into surrounding regions. So here's the most plausible theory, and I know this requires a lot of circumstantial evidence and
Wait, this is the most
coincidental
plausible?
things to happen. But considering how odd this case is,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the best we got.
I thought he was
The
gonna name
Russians
another
were
one.
testing Novichok or some other nerve gas
I
at
see.
a very high elevation months before the group ever came to the region.
Makes
After the
sense.
tests were completed, the military left the nerve gas up there to dissipate because there's really nothing else you can do with it. And
Yeah.
everything was fine until on August the 4th when a heavy wind and rainstorm came. And if you'll remember, things like nerve gas are very heavy in the atmosphere,
Ah.
which means they would have rolled over the sides of the mountains and traced
That's-
their way down
that's
the mountain
big.
itself.
That's definitely what
From there,
happened.
the group would have had to have only breathed in or even touched little pockets of the gas itself in order to take in a fatal dose.
That makes sense.
This would explain, according to Valentina's account,
I think I got
why
it solved, guys.
Alexander's
Unsolved
scream
mystery?
had the
Nah,
symptoms.
solved
When
mystery.
someone ran to him, which would have been the same pocket of gas, the same thing happened, and then to a third person as well.
Big Man Crunch
Potentially, at
officially
that
solved
point, the gas
mystery.
was working
I
its
solved
way
it,
down
chat.
the
It was me.
hillside And was just
I
enough
did
to
it.
hit the other 3, leaving Valentina very lucky as she managed to get by the pockets of gas itself. This would also explain why several hours later, whenever she returned to
Green
the same
FN.
bodies that had been affected, she was totally fine, because at that point, the gas pockets had moved on. Remember the pulmonary edema and pulmonary bruising that I mentioned earlier? Well, pulmonary bruising, or
Pulmonary
bruising on
bruising.
the inside of your
Yeah,
alveoli
guys, I've got a bit of
themselves,
pulmonary bruising
most often
myself.
comes from people
I'll
who
be
inhale
honest.
contaminants. Furthermore, the pulmonary edema, or liquid in the lungs, is a common symptom seen with people who are exposed to nerve gas.
Oh,
However, by the
yeah.
time the bodies were found, they were so
Maybe she's just
decomposed
immune to
that
that
if there
strain.
was blood on the skin or a nerve agent in the lungs, it would have been gone at that point. Also, remember that detail I mentioned at the beginning?
Or
That
the golden
whenever
root?
Valentina came to the police,
Maybe she
and
ate some
said that
golden
her friends
root.
had died on the mountain and gave the private account of what happened, how it took them 2 weeks to get up there? Well, several have theorized that perhaps the police were aware of military weapon testing on top of the mountain itself, and they were simply waiting to make sure that all of the gas was expelled from the area.
Ooh,
you could even
that's
take this a
possible.
step further if you wanted to and say that perhaps the reason a very circumstantial case of hypothermia was ruled as hypothermia is because the medical examiner knew not to intervene with government weapon testing.
That makes
but
sense.
I'll leave all the crazy conspiracy stuff to you guys for now. And while I understand that this story requires a lot of different moving parts and a lot of different specific details,
I'll show you a lot of
to work
different
in
moving parts,
specific
I'm sorry.
ways, like the gas
Sorry.
affected just this group and none of the other groups on the mountain, considering how bizarre the scenario itself is, I really do think it's the best we got. Either way, I feel that the Kamar Daban incident will always be remembered as one of the most bizarre
I'm not showing you
and
this. I'm not doing the
unsettling,
thug shaker.
unexplained
All right, let's watch the other one Hannah sent me. Keep in mind, this is a recommendation stream. You guys feel free to recommend.
Hello
recommend me
everybody,
things.
today we are going to be discussing the conspiracy and mystery of the Boys on the Tracks. One night in
Boys on the
August
Tracks.
1987, two boys,
Oh.
Don Henry and Kevin Ives, would meet a tragic fate when they were hit by a train in the outskirts
Well,
of
there's
Saline
the mystery.
County, Arkansas. Normally this would just be a
Something like
gruesome
8? Oh,
and sad
lovely.
story of two lives that were cut short. However,
Dang.
that is until the bizarre details come into play. Through medical examinations,
Oh,
it
I
was
didn't want to watch the
determined that
podcast because I
boys
can't
had
provide
been
commentary
murdered
on commentary.
prior to the train hitting them. And as a matter of fact, it seems that the boys were placed on the train tracks in order to cover up evidence.
Yo,
What would
they witnessed
follow
a drug
is
deal.
series of murders and cover-ups that involved the local police, the FBI, the CIA, and even a United States
one's
president.
pretty
So why
ep.
so much carnage over the
What's that
deaths
mean?
of two young boys? And furthermore, what
Sam
did they
O'Neillia
see
video?
that
I don't know
led
who
to
that
their
is.
fateful end in the first place? This case has been 35 years in the making.
I've like
with
heard of him, but I've
revelations
never watched him.
coming
I don't know
out
what he
even
looks
to
like.
this day. And today we are going to be taking a look at the entirety of this case, breaking down
I
several
see. Are you
of
guys
the
speaking
leads
English?
and theories about
I'm on-
what happened, and we'll
This
try to
one's
connect
pretty
some of
ick.
the dots to figure out why this became so much more than two boys on a train track.
So
So if
confused.
that sounds interesting to you, stick around as we unravel the mystery of what happened that night in the Arkansas wilderness. But before
Oh,
you
of
get
course
your
it was
daily
Arkansas.
dose of internet scares,
Epic? Oh.
let's set the mood for those scares with today's sponsor, Galaxy Lamps.
No.
Galaxy Lamps allows you to make any room a showstopper.
Let's not
As you
start
can
with
see,
this.
the Galaxy Lamp is a very compact package that
Wow,
you can
that's
put on
awesome.
to and I want to emphasize that this is still an ongoing case. With
Gulp.
a lot of the stuff I
I can
covered,
solve it.
everything happened decades ago.
I've got this.
And someone was eventually caught for it. However, this is not one of those cases. So because of that, there is a big allegedly on top of everything I'm about to say.
Okay.
Especially with some of the people implicated. I feel comfortable with several of these allegations because, as you're going to see, the legal system does as well. But this is not meant to be a witch hunt. At the end of this video, I'm going to talk about how you can help the correct way.
Oh,
on that
cool.
note, I want to give a massive thank you to another YouTube channel known as Carnage on Ice.
Nope.
Baz Dane, the guy behind the channel, has done a phenomenal job at piecing together
Nope.
the massive
Not gonna watch him,
narrative
sorry.
that this tragedy
Just kidding.
has
Why am I being
created.
so mean?
So much so that he
I
has
probably
become
would watch
personal
him.
friends with several of the
If you
people
showed up my
in the
recommended,
case.
I'd watch
So
him.
not only has he compiled information, but he has gone to the source and gathered first-hand accounts. And if you think my videos are long, this guy has 10 hours of material
Oh, hell
dedicated
no.
to this topic. So
That's a
if this
lot.
interests you, I really emphasize that it would not have been near as easy to find this information, and some of it wouldn't exist at all without him. So his channel will be the second link in the description just below the ad. Head over there and show him some thanks because I really appreciate it, and hopefully you do
Hunch,
too.
you're a
With
mean
those
person.
disclaimers out of the way, let's get into the story. Our story
You bully me every single day, Crunch?
begins at about 4 in the morning in Saline County, Arkansas, specifically on a section of railroad tracks known as the Crooked Creek Trestle. At 4 a.m., a Union Pacific locomotive
All right,
was
I see
making
how
its
it
way
is, chat.
through
I
the
see.
area. The
All
train
right.
was about a mile long and was traveling at about 50 miles an hour. While traveling through this area of Saline County,
I see
one
how
of
it
the
is.
train operators saw something ahead on the tracks.
I
They
see how it
immediately
is.
began blowing the horn and braking the train. However, a mile-long piece of metal moving at 50 miles an hour doesn't have a lot of room to stop. Because of this, the train hit whatever was lying on the tracks and continued to travel for another several hundred feet. Between the time that the initial lookout saw what was coming ahead on the tracks and the point where the train actually hit whatever was on the tracks, all four men aboard the locomotive said that lying in front of them were two boys seemingly asleep with a green tarp draped over them.
Hey,
and
yo,
despite the
what?
rattling of the tracks and the noise of the train and its horn, the boys never moved. Right before the train hit the boys, the people aboard the train thought that these were two people who were doing it on purpose. While tragic and relatively rare, this is a method that isn't necessarily unheard of. However, the first note of suspicion came
death by
whenever the train made contact with the two boys. So, whenever a train hits something, it's pretty grisly, if you could imagine. And while it isn't common with people, hopefully, it is pretty common for train conductors to hit wild animals such as deer. So while gruesome, people who operate trains are pretty familiar with it. Not to get too graphic, but this is necessary for the conspiracy I'll explain in a moment. Whenever something is hit by a piece of metal the size of a train, the pieces of whatever was hit disassociate at
they go everywhere.
Very rapid pace. And again, while grisly,
I know when people get hit by a train, they
of it are
splatter. I'm aware.
particularly aerosol in nature. Think like when a water balloon gets thrown at something really fast.
understand
Train
how it
conductors are pretty
works.
used to this, and that's why they immediately noticed something was off with the two boys. Instead of the normal reaction, the residue from this instance was more purple and thick compared to normal. This is something commonly seen with deoxygenated blood. See, whenever blood is amped up on oxygen,
They're doing the Grimace Shake challenge.
It stays red and thin, but if the person or animal dies, the blood begins to turn a darker color.
I solved the mystery. They're doing the
thick.
popular
instance with
TikTok
these
challenge,
two
Grimace
boys
Shake
followed
challenge in the
latter
woods.
scenario. So after the train hit
They
them,
thought they would tie themselves to
people
the tracks
aboard
and
the
dump
train
Grimace
said,
Shake all
"Oh,
over themselves.
I guess these two were
It was
already
not as
dead."
funny as
so
they
the
thought.
train stops,
because
they
a
call
train
the
came
local
and hit
police,
them.
and within 30 minutes,
Got
the
it.
police, EMTs, and everyone's arrived at the scene. The EMTs take the same notice
To the Grimace
and write
Shaker? No.
down that it appears the two were
I need to
dead
blow my nose.
before impact. However, the police begin to treat it like an accidental death. As a matter of fact, that night, the police didn't really treat it like anything. They were just gathering up whatever they could and throwing it in evidence bags. They also were never able to locate the tarp, and in years since have simply said that all four men aboard
Thanks
the
for
train
entertaining
were
the stream for me, Wendigoon.
hallucinating.
I'm
No,
back.
I'm not kidding. The police's official response is they made the tarp up. And the police
They
also
made the
seemed to
tarp
be in
up?
such a rush
Bro.
that they left the foot
And
of
people
one of
wonder why
the
the
boys
people get
at the
pissed off at the
crime
police
scene,
so much
and
when they
didn't
do stuff
come
like that.
Get it till like 3 days later.
That's crazy.
The boys were taken to a local medical examiner and identified by their dental records. They were identified and later confirmed as being Don Henry and Kevin Ives. Don, 16,
Okay.
and Kevin,
What did
17,
they see?
were best friends throughout their entire
What do they see
upbringing
that someone
and
needed to
into
kill
high
them?
school. At the time they were identified, their parents were already looking for them. The night of the accident aboard the train tracks, August the 23rd of 1987, the two had left their house around midnight to go spotlighting. Spotlighting is when two guys go
What is
hunting
that?
and one of them has a flashlight and the other has a gun.
Oh, they witnessed
so
the drug
whenever the
deal.
guy with the flashlight holds up the flashlight,
And they had a
the guy
gun
with the
too?
gun
Oh,
has
yeah.
to shoot whatever's in the beam. The
They
boys
got
left
shot.
towards their normal hunting location at around
They got shot and
midnight,
laid on the
that
tracks.
location being the train tracks where they were later found. So the big mystery of the case is what happened between midnight and 4 a.m. on August the 23rd. Also, when the bodies of the two were recovered, so was the .22 rifle that they took hunting. It was essentially destroyed, seemingly having been hit by the train as well. The parents, as you could imagine, were beside themselves and wanted answers as to what happened to their sons. About a week after they were identified and a funeral was held for the two, the state sent in a high-profile medical examiner named Dr. Fahmy Malik. Dr. Malik did his autopsy and said that the reason that the two died
But
is
they
because
caught you
they
doing the
had
thug
smoked
shaker,
so
right?
much weed
Big Mod
that
YouTube?
they
Oh,
were
let's go.
completely
And his
incapable
Twitch died,
of
so now
hearing
she's on
or
YouTube.
moving from the oncoming train. His exact words
See, that's why
within
we
the
do the duo
report
stream
were
chat.
that they
Big
smoked
Mod
an
YouTube
estimate of
watcher. Oh
20
wow.
marijuana
That's official.
cigarettes, and that they had become so high that they had fallen asleep and couldn't hear
I
the
doubt that's
oncoming
what
train
happened.
horn,
Oh wow,
which
how are
is
you doing that? That's awesome.
No. Not only
They're
is
putting
this
embarrassed
written like
emojis, like
someone
an
whose
Instagram
only
Live.
interaction with marijuana
It's
is
making
their
them show up on the
commercials.
screen.
But even if
That's
these
awesome.
two high school students sprinted into the woods and smoked 20 joints each, that wouldn't be enough to put them in a stupor where they
Oh,
decide
Jesse's saying
to lay
that's an
down
absolute
on
L.
train
How long are you gonna
tracks
spam
and
the emoji
train
button?
can't alert them. And you're probably hearing
That's
this and
awesome.
thinking that's
100?
ridiculous. How did that guy get away with it?
I didn't know you could do
Well,
that.
turns out he gets away with it a lot. Malik has a long history of absolutely absurd medical examinations. Among my favorite are the time that he accidentally accused
My
a
NPC
doctor
stream.
of killing
What
a
was that?
patient
How did you do
because
that?
He didn't know how to read the patient's chart.
My
And
NPC
then
streamer
the
isn't
time
working.
that a guy
Thanks for the
was
roses.
shot 5
Thanks for the
times in
roses.
the chest, and he ruled it a suicide.
How are you
along
doing
with
that?
Another absolutely
How are you
insane
going?
ruling that we'll talk about
How are you
later
doing?
in the
How's that
story.
happening?
So as you could imagine, the parents weren't satisfied with this answer for several reasons. So they decide
How are
to
you doing
not
that?
take the state-appointed medical examiner and get a second opinion. And then on top of that, a third opinion. The two
Stop
other
that.
medical examiners that the family hired said Dr. Malik was absolutely out of his mind. The first and main medical examiner who reevaluated this case, Dr. Joseph Burton, said that there was a little bit of THC in the boy's system,
Oh.
but it was like maybe 1 joint. And his only solution was that Dr. Malik literally just made it up. However, what was more troublesome than the doctor not finding the THC in their system was what the doctor did find. See, all that
Cool.
stuff I said about the coagulated
Chloroform?
blood
Maybe?
not lining up with evidence of a living person being hit by a train. At the time, that was kept between the police reports as well as the EMT reports. The first sign that something was awry to the public, and more importantly the boys' families, was what Dr. Burton uncovered. Given the circumstance of their body's demise, the heads and torsos were surprisingly intact. Because of that, it was determined that before death,
Did it not show up on
Kevin's
screen? Oh, well, I
head
see them
was
on my
caved
YouTube
in
chat.
with something solid, such as the butt of a rifle, and Dawn had been stabbed multiple times in his back. This
Okay,
was the
dang.
switch that would lead to the following
Oh,
35
there she's
years
doing it again.
of cover-ups and conspiracy. Because
Awesome.
initially it was just 4 parents trying to figure out how this tragedy happened to their children. But now it seems that this tragedy had a culprit. The first thing that they did was try to get the head of Dr. Malik put on a stake because he was
What?
seemingly covering up the murder of these 2 boys. Also, the not awful medical examiner, Dr. Burton, he said that Dr. Malik had sawed up and destroyed so much of what did remain of the boys that it was hard to put anything else together. As a matter of fact, he said that the boys could have had several more injuries happen to them before death, but Dr. Malik had destroyed the body so much that there was no way for Dr. Burton to make heads or tails of it. Whenever Dr. Malik
Okay,
was
thanks,
confronted
Jesse.
with all this, he just kept saying that he was still right for some reason. And whenever he was directly asked, what about the stab wounds on Dawn? His response was, don't worry about it.
What?
Like, they're just stab wounds. Aren't you more worried about the train? That seems more dangerous to me. In the
That's
following
crazy.
years, whenever he was asked on news reports to explain himself, he said that the reason he was getting so many accusations was because people were racist because he was Egyptian. So at this
Okay.
point, the parents are
Yeah.
out for blood, especially the mother of Kevin Ives,
That must
a
be
woman
why.
known as Linda Ives. Linda was approached by a local prosecutor known as Dan Harmon, because at this point, Linda was running smear campaigns in the public square trying to get people to out the sheriff for a massive cover-up, and eventually the sheriff said that if Linda stopped being mean to him, he would do a proper investigation. So whenever this investigation began, Dan Harmon, as the prosecutor, approached Linda and said that he would love to help her or the family
They're so
with
back, let's
whatever
go.
they need to give the
If they're not
boys
wrong, getting hit by a
justice.
train is probably
So
a lot more
now, the
dangerous than getting stabbed,
prosecution and
but they
local
got
police
stabbed
began
before
to
getting
try
hit
to
by the
find
train.
witnesses.
That
And
would
it
be
turns
important to
out,
know.
Despite being in the middle of the woods at 4 in the morning in Arkansas, there were quite a few. Keyword being were. Now, for the sake of the narrative,
Nope.
I am not going to tell you what these witnesses said whenever they were originally questioned, because it did not become public record until years later. So for now, all you need to
Okay.
know is that witnesses began coming forward, telling their story, and then things started happening. The first of which was another young boy by the name of Keith Coney. Also, at this point, it had been a while since the death of the boys,
More like,
because that happened in August of '87, and then
Chief
there was
Coney.
nearly
Ha,
a
get it?
year
Like
of new
weed.
medical examiners
Does he have
trying to get
THC
the
in his
police to
system?
open the
Get it?
case and blah,
I'm
blah,
sorry.
blah. And Keith Coney came forward as one of the first witnesses in the case in May of 1988. Keith said he was with the 2 boys on the night of their death. He gave the police his account of what happened, and then a few days later, Keith Coney was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Oh.
Officially, he just died in a normal wreck. However, according to witnesses, he was being ran off the road by an unknown car. And according to some reports, at his autopsy, it seems his throat had been slit. But that was all alleged, and officially one of the main witnesses in the case died in a tragic accident.
Oh,
well,
of course.
a few months later, another witness come forward, this one known as Keith McCassell. McCassell also said that he was there the night of the boy's murder.
I'd rather get
And
hit by a
again, I'm
fast
not
train
saying
than a
his
slow
relation
train.
to the
That's
case
true.
because
That would
it'll
really
give
suck,
away a lot
huh?
of details. Just bear with me for now. McCassell gave his initial story and then all of a sudden began to think
That would be
something
pretty
was
painful.
about to happen to him. According to those around McCassell, a switch flipped after he told the police his tale of what happened. He began to give away his belongings to family members and say goodbyes because he didn't think he'd be around for
Stop
long.
running
He went
you
as
over.
far
Why
as
is
to
that?
plan out his own funeral.
Because 1 miles per
saying
hour,
that
I
it
just
would
not get hit
be
by the train.
needed
What if you're
very
tied up
soon.
though?
And it turns out
You just have to
McCassell
get hit
was
by a
right,
1 mile per
as
hour
in
train.
November of 1988,
That would suck.
he was found stabbed to death in his garage, having been stabbed 113 times.
What?
McCassell's neighbor was a shut-in who claimed that he saw 5 men wearing black masks step into Keith's garage and murder him. That same neighbor was charged with
I believe him.
McCassell's death. 3
I
months
believe
after
him.
that, another witness named Greg Collins was found
I believe
dead
him.
in the middle of the woods, having been shot in the head. 3 months after
The government
that, another
doing evil
witness known
things,
as
that's what's
Peter
happening.
Bearden went missing and has not been seen since. 3 months after that, Jeff Rhodes, another witness, also went missing. Before a short time thereafter, his body was found in a burning dumpster. And then, 3 months after that, Richard Winters, our 6th and final witness to do the whole unalive thing, was found in his home, decapitated, with his head missing. And this is the best part of all. Guess what medical examiner was set over the death of Richard Winters?
No way.
The guy whose head is gone and the rest of his body is in his living room. That's right, Dr. Malik. That's right, Dr.
Fun.
Malik. Dr. Malik said that the cause of death was a stomach ulcer.
That must be it.
And that
That must have
Winter's
been what happened.
dog had consumed his entire
I don't know.
head.
Anytime
Okay, so
now,
during the
Tucker.
section you're about to listen to, I keep saying Richard Winters was the one who the doctor said his dog ate his head and all of that. I was incorrect. It's James Millen. Richard Winters was another witness who died in relation to the case. James Millen, to my knowledge, was not directly related with the case. It was just another weird call that the doctor made. So yeah, I got the names mixed up. I'm going to keep saying Richard Winters in that clip, when in actuality it's James Millen. My bad. Carry on. So I went on this whole hunt to try to figure out what kind of dog Winters had, because isn't the story so much funnier if it's like a Chihuahua? And I couldn't find anything conclusive. I think it was just some kind of like mixed breed dog of like medium size. Definitely not eat your whole head size. And despite the sever marking clearly having
YouTube
been
angry
done
face, that's so true.
with some kind of bladed weapon, Malik maintained that this guy died of a stomach ulcer and then his dog ate his
Did you get
head.
that?
Well, a week later, Winter's head turned up in a garbage can.
What?
While very decomposed, the head was still all in one place. When questioned on this, Malik said, "Oh, I guess the dog threw it up." So in just over a year, all 6 witnesses who said they saw something that night have died from something anywhere from mysterious to laughable circumstance. And the crooked medical examiner even came back to make a weird ruling on the final death. Well, after the first 2 murders of Keith Coney and Keith McCassell,
I did that,
the
my
case
bad.
was shut
Oh, that
down.
was you, Tucker?
This was especially
I should've known.
odd to the family, because if you'll remember,
Classic-
Dan Harmon,
that's like your-
this
that's your
hotshot
classic work.
prosecutor, comes up to Linda Ives and the rest of the family and says that he's going to do whatever it takes to make sure these kids see justice. And then 2 people die and he's like, well, I mean, not anything it takes. Furthermore, at the time the case was shut down, a grand jury had been convened to go over the evidence to see if there was anything substantial to hold a case. Suspiciously, it was during this time that the case was dropped, and the grand jury was ordered to never reveal any evidence that was brought forward during that grand jury hearing ever, with several members on the grand jury saying that they don't feel that's right because the information they saw should really be out there. And this is the same information that Dan Harmon and the judge decided wouldn't make a good case. Also, not to mention, if your witnesses keep turning up dead, there's probably something there.
Good.
Well, this didn't
She's
stop
watching.
someone
Good.
named Gene Duffy. Gene Duffy was head of the drug task force within Saline County. On the first day that she got the job, her higher-up came to her and said, whatever you do, never use the drug task force to investigate any public officials.
What?
Which, like, that's the worst thing you can say to someone who has
Yeah.
a drug task force. Like, imagine if you were a health inspector at a restaurant, right? And you come into the restaurant and the manager's like, oh, hi, welcome to McDonald's. Whatever you do not check the meat in the back of the freezer. Like, oh,
Yeah.
well, okay, since
For
you
real.
asked. While Jean's investigations were not initially linked to the deaths of the boys on the tracks, several of her undercover informants began to say that the drug ring around Saline County was somehow connected to the deaths of those two boys.
Oh,
well, this
dang.
was around the same time
Probably.
that people who knew something about the case started coming up dead. So Jean decided
Dang.
to pursue her leads in secret and eventually found a
Screw
witness.
mobile
Now, according to
twitches.
Jean,
Why?
throughout this entire
You
investigation,
don't like him? Not a fan?
she kept being discouraged by officials around her. When she would mention that the murder of the two boys may relate to drug rings that she's looking into, she was told
Yeah,
not
what's
to
wrong
worry
with Twitch
about
Mobile?
it and that it's all some crazy conspiracy
MPEG
theory.
Uber?
And while she
What?
was just getting a sort of gentle
What did bro
pushback
say?
for her normal investigations, whenever she found this one particular witness,
Freak
they went
mode
ballistic.
on.
Within weeks, Dan Harmon, the prosecutor who's supposed to be trying to figure out who murdered these boys, began having smear campaigns ran in the local paper about how Gene Duffy is a terrible local official. And through his
Dude.
efforts, eventually got Jane Duffy ran
That's
out of
crazy.
Arkansas. We'll get to who that witness was in just a second, but hang on. So after Duffy gets ran
This
out
is actually some
and
government
the first
work
few
right here.
witnesses start to die, the
This is
case
some
gets
classic
shut down, like
government
I said a
kill
moment ago.
people,
Well, this
get away
was
with anything.
unacceptable to the family,
Special.
as you can imagine. And over 5 years later, in 1993, the case was eventually reopened thanks in no small part to the complaints of Linda Ives. A detective by the name of John Brown was assigned to the case. He said on the first day of this investigation, a superior put him in a patrol car and just started driving around town with him. And for an hour,
What?
continuously discouraged Brown from looking into the case at all. Think about it. He's been assigned by the department to have the case. And then a higher up in the department takes him out for an hour and says, whatever you do, do not look into the case. According
Oh,
to Brown,
God.
initially
That's
the car ride
terrifying.
was just stuff like, oh, this case isn't going to go anywhere. It's just going to make you depressed. But by the end of it, he flat out told Brown to leave it alone. Well, Brown
Dang.
eventually found the same witness that Duffy had originally found 5 years earlier. And as soon as Brown found that witness, Dan Harmon, the prosecutor once again, comes out and begins threatening Brown and the police that he will ruin all of them if they continue chasing this thread. Also, whenever Brown took over the investigation, he found that files on top of files had completely gone missing. Like within the
You need a
police's own
Molotov?
records,
Why?
evidence was just gone and entire pages were blacked out. So what was going on that had the officials of the entire county up in arms?
It is
And
so
who was
simple
this
what
witness
happened.
that Dan Harmon was so afraid of? Well, it turns
The
out this
government
witness was a
wanted
woman
to
by
make
the name
money
of
with
Charlene
drugs
Wilson.
and not
At the
get
time,
caught, so
Charlene
they didn't
Wilson
get caught.
was
They just
serving
killed
a
everyone.
sentence for a cocaine possession, which
Of
she
course.
claims to this day was planted on her. But Wilson
course.
does admit to a previous history of drug abuse. It's because of that drug abuse.
I knew you'd like this
she
one. I do
claimed
like
she
this one.
was
I
at
hate
the
corruption.
tracks on August the 23rd of 1987.
Going to drink a Molotov
According
cocktail
to
one
her,
day.
and this was
Yeah.
the story that prosecutor Dan Harmon
What do you think it'll
pointed
taste
out,
like?
she was
Spicy?
part of a group which totaled 5 people. These 5 people were walking along the tracks that night looking for a drug pickup. While the specifics of her story change a little bit for reasons I'll discuss later, all versions of her story say that this group of 5 people ran into 2 young boys who were out hunting. Before, in fear of being found out, these 5 killed the 2 young boys and left their
Jesse
bodies on the
1550
train
says-
tracks in order to destroy the evidence. And according to her,
What?
the ringleader
Why would you try
of
to
this group
say
of
that?
5
That's not gonna
people
work.
was Dan Harmon. If this is true, that would
Seriously?
mean that the prosecutor, who was initially set to find justice for the 2 young boys, was the
Get
killer
outta here.
himself. This explains why, as you could imagine, Dan Harmon didn't want Charlene Wilson
should
talking
mix
to anyone,
styrofoam and
but
ice
because of her
from-
story, it probably would have been
Bad
a
idea.
little too suspicious
Bad
if
idea.
she turned up dead while in jail, so he just kept trying to scare people off from talking to her. This was
Do
the
not do
information
that.
that Jean Duffy had before she was ran out of Saline County. Before she left, however, she passed on this
Bigman
information
Tucker
to an
29
FBI
says Uber Tree
investigator
says Bigman
known as
poop.
Chuck Banks. Chuck
Bigman
Banks took this
HANA says
information,
crunch, crunch,
thanked
crunch.
Jean for giving it
Yeah,
to
what's
him,
up?
and then
Hi.
immediately dropped the case. This is why, despite having a supposed bombshell, or at the very least a lead in the investigation, nothing happened for another 5 years until the parents continued to complain. So whenever John Brown, 5 years later, comes across the same witness who has the same
Sometimes
story,
that
John
one works.
Brown
Oh, the
realized that
slashes.
this probably wouldn't stand up in court or have an investigation, especially if people were trying to keep it hush-hush. Because, you know, Dan Harmon was the one who
Yes,
threw
people were trying to
Charlene
keep it
into
hush-hush.
prison. And
Oh, that
I'm
worked.
sure there are several people serving a drug sentence who would also say that their prosecutor killed someone. So Brown set out to find another witness who could corroborate
But
this
100
story,
overall,
and he
Wemby
did.
is
A kid by
crazy.
the name of Tom Newhouse came forward and said that he witnessed everything. According to Tom, on the night that the two were killed, there was another unrelated group of kids who were going out into the woods to try to find a marijuana patch. Supposedly there have
course.
been rumors that by the train tracks there were people growing a bunch of marijuana, so a bunch of the local kids decided they wanted
Bigman
to go
Tucker
find it. And if
29
it
says
sounds weird to you, the idea of a group
So
of
true,
kids going
Tucker.
out into the middle of the woods at night in order to find drugs, welcome to the South. On that night, Tom would have been 12 years old. However, at the time of Brown's investigation, he was 17. Now, the story that Charlene gave was not at all public information at this point.
That
It
was
was kept
fair.
very hush-hush, and the only people who knew about it were theirs closely associated with the case. In other words, there was no way that Tom Newhouse could
being
have
guarded
known
by
that
Wemby.
Harmon was the suspect. Tom
Why'd I do
came
that?
to the detective and gave his side of the story while hooked up to a polygraph. In that story, which
Oh, he's hooked up
passed
to a
the
polygraph? Those are
Tom
100%
said this
true,
is what
chat.
happened. Tom and his friends were playing along
That's why
the
we always
railroad
use them in a
tracks
legal setting.
whenever they saw flashlights walking towards them in
Bigman
the distance.
HANA
This
says
group of kids, who again shouldn't be out there because
hashtag,
they
Why?
were
hashtag,
from a
and
marijuana
hashtag,
patch,
hashtag,
ran
and
off to the
hashtag,
side of the
and
tracks and decided to observe this
Why?
group
I
of
dunked on
people.
Wemby,
After
by
they
the way.
walked by, Tom identified
Unfortunately,
the
with
person
this
at the
oath,
front
but
of the
whatever.
group, and again, of 5 people, which falls back on Charlene's story, he identified the man at the front as Dan Harmon. Tom knew who Dan was because not long before, Tom's mother had dated Dan. Dan also has a long history of
Stop.
abuses and abusing
I'm gonna
wives, but we
stop.
won't get into that right now. But Tom, only being 12 years old,
Jesse
thought it was weird that
1550
his mom's
says.
boyfriend is out here on the
Stop.
train tracks at 2 in the morning. While observing them from the other direction, Tom says that 2 boys came walking holding a flashlight. As the 2 came walking, Dan and his group began to panic. Before Dan astutely yelled at the boys to come over here right now, and the
Bigman
2
Tucker
boys,
29
visibly
says, "I'm not
afraid,
going to do
walked
that."
over to
Thanks,
Dan
Tucker.
and the
I
larger
appreciate
group.
that.
Tom identified these 2 boys as Don and Kevin. While Don and Kevin were talking to this group of people
Okay.
led by Dan, Tom says that he turned his head to talk to his friend for a second and heard a gunshot. He can't be sure, but he assumes that it was the .22 rifle that the boys had brought with them. As soon as this gunshot went off, the 2 boys began to run away and the group of 5 began to follow after them. Tom and his friends, obviously worried they're going to get in trouble or that someone just got shot, all got up and ran away, and Tom hadn't told anyone until this polygraph confession. Tom knew a lot about the case that wasn't public knowledge, from the people who were present at the time to even the clothes that the boys were wearing. And again, for what it's worth, he passed the polygraph test. And
Jesse
perhaps most
1550 says
interesting
Uber, it was really
is
immature
that
of you
this
to keep
story
saying
is corroborated by the stories
Yeah,
of the
I'm actually gonna have to
witnesses who
ban
were
that
previously
phrase from the
murdered,
say command
or,
if you keep
sorry,
using it.
died of completely normal causes. If you'll remember, Keith McCassell was the second witness to die in this entire story. Keith McCassell's story is that he was one of the group of 5 who went out with Dan Harmon, and yes, he also said Dan was there. And again,
perfected
Keith's story
that.
was completely
Oh, fair.
classified, which makes it more credible when Tom's story said that he saw Keith McCassell on the tracks. And as a matter of fact, every other witness also says that Dan Harmon was there. So what did all those witnesses say? What information did these guys have that made them so dangerous to the state around them? Well, according to people who were in Dan Harmon's group that night, as
Mag
well
has
as
bad?
people
No, it's
like
because
Keith
I'm
Coney, who
winning,
were
chat.
a
Chat, I am
group
winning.
of kids who went looking
Oh
for
my
the
gosh,
marijuana
what?
patch that night, along with Tom and general witnesses who were near the tracks and the scene of the crime.
He goaltended
This is
me
what
and then
happened. The collective story is that Dan Harmon and a group
Whatever.
of people were out looking for a drug drop on the side of the train tracks that late night. It's
why
2
did
in
he
the
hit the
morning in
ball?
the
He
middle of
goaltended me
Arkansas,
and got
and
a
they
foul
probably
for it.
weren't
Why did
expecting to
the
run
game
into
freaked
anyone.
out? Or
That is
that's not.
until two
That can't be
boys
real.
with a flashlight walk up to them.
Dumb,
Dan
dumb,
Harmon
okay.
confronts the two boys.
You don't
and at
even know
some
what
point
happened
during
either.
the
That was
conversation,
crazy.
Either because one of
Maybe
them
I just
was
don't know ball like
scared,
that. I don't know what just
or
happened.
they were
I thought I
trying
knew
to
ball
scare
like
away
that.
Dan and his group. I'm not sure which of the two boys was holding the
No
gun,
bully.
but whichever one
No.
was holding the gun fired a round. From there, the two boys
that was
began to run, and they ran all the way to a grocery store that was not far from the tracks. According to the people who were around the grocery
Shoot.
store that night,
Shoot
the
it.
two boys were in the parking lot when a police car pulled up next to them. Two officers
Austin just
stepped
got
out of
injured.
the car and began to talk to the boys.
No.
Before they grabbed them, began to violently beat them before throwing
Austin.
them back into the car and driving away. And then, according to witnesses like Charlene Wilson, the two men brought the boys back to the tracks.
Speaking things work
at
by
which
skipping
point,
half of
according
chat?
to her,
Nah.
the two
He
had
usually
already
does?
been killed, and then
Okay.
their bodies were placed on the tracks because they knew that
thing
a
I
train
usually
was
do is your
coming late
mom.
that night, and they assumed it would destroy
Got
the
'em.
evidence. However, thankful for us and unlucky for them, while it destroyed a lot of the evidence, it still
They
left
replaced
enough
Austin with
identification
LaMelo. He got
that foul
injured.
play was at hand. So after the family doesn't buy this phony story from the medical
Can't injure
examiner,
Austin and get
Dan
away with
Harmon,
it. I
being
gotta
the
beat you up now.
prosecutor, sweeps in and assures the family that he has their best interest at heart, when in reality he's just trying to cover up the case as quickly as possible, which explains why the case was shut down, while the witnesses died, etc. So why all of this, right? Why is just some random drug drop worth a prosecutor walking around in the woods of Arkansas at night with 4 random people, one of them supposedly being a cocaine addict? And
Because
why
they're doing
on
a
earth
major
would that be
Breaking
worth
Bad
the
style
murder
business here?
Of what, 8 people
Something
now?
Crunch does
And
a lot
even
of skip
more
a bunch
so,
of messages
the
and read
state
something out of
medical
context and get
examiner
offended
being
by
in
it,
on
even
the
has
whole
nothing to
thing.
do with
Well,
that.
to
Okay.
answer that, we have to talk about a
You're
man
telling
by the
Jesse
name of
Mag is
Barry
bad?
Seal.
Oh.
Now, Barry Seal is a massive topic within himself.
Oops.
His story even has a whole movie where Tom
Crunch
Cruise
thinks I'm being
plays
mean to
him
me even when I'm being mean
about
to
all
others.
his
My bad.
nefarious doings. But in short, Barry Seal was a pilot who assisted with drug trafficking from Central America into the United States.
No, it does
what
not
I'm saying
happen a
right now
lot.
isn't a conspiracy. It isn't some weird secret. This is an entire exposed circuit of the drug trade. Barry Seal would specifically drop off his supply in Mena, Arkansas. The reason he chose Arkansas is because state officials were in on the whole thing. So not only would they
Makes
turn
sense.
a blind eye to his operations, but local law enforcement would be the people to traffic the drugs. Now, Barry Seal was murdered
I was
a
outside
year
of
before
Twitch,
the
my
boys
bad.
died in 1986. But at the time of his death, he had started such a big empire that even after he died, people continued the operation.
Challenge that.
And it's
Challenge
been
that.
confirmed that in the same location that the boys were killed, that it was a regular drop-off
Shut
for
up.
these drug exchanges. The pilots of these planes would do a blackout flight, or in other words, all the lights off so they couldn't be seen or identified, and would fly just above the ground of the Arkansas forest
Oh, man, I did
before
foul 'em.
dropping their supply, and the local officials and members of the Arkansas government would come pick up the supply itself. This would explain why Dan Harmon, a local prosecutor, was prodding around the woods at night, and why he had several people on the payroll with him in order to help him move the product.
All right.
That would also explain why, after these boys' bodies were discovered and an investigation started, that the state sent a big-time medical examiner who was definitely paid off, allegedly. Now, I know what you're saying. This is a really wild story, and trust me, I know.
Past 8th grade? I'm in my 3rd year of college and on the dean's list, buddy. Okay? That means I'm in the top 20 people in my entire college.
How it sounds. It went from 2 boys getting ran over by a train, and
Crunch
we
needs
can all
a-
probably accept
I'm
that
gonna kill
given
you.
the evidence.
I'm gonna
that
kill
they
you
were
in Grand
killed
Theft Auto
beforehand,
5.
right? But
Oh
that
my
doesn't
gosh.
mean that they had to be
I'm gonna
killed
kill
by
you
a
in Grand Theft Auto
prosecutor,
5.
And this whole connection with Central American drug exchange and blah blah blah.
Okay,
Like,
nerd.
really,
Okay,
who am
so
I
there's
to
no
say
winning with
that
you.
Dan Harmon, a respected official of government, is a drug mule? Well, in 1996, Dan Harmon was convicted of smuggling drugs into the United States, and his method of doing this was through corrupt officials. He was
don't
arrested and
have a-
charged in
well,
1996.
okay,
and then he
technically
got
I
out
do,
of
but it's
jail,
not of my
and
own
shortly
volition.
after, in 2010, he was arrested
So you
for
can't
selling
say
drugs
like,
once
oh yeah,
again.
he has one, he likes it.
So,
It's not my own volition.
I feel pretty confident in that. So we know that the
Thanks, Tucker.
prosecutor who
Thank
was
you.
railroading the whole case
Murder and Grand Theft Auto
was
6 next
an
year,
active
awesome.
part of a drug
Next
smuggling
year,
operation
awesome.
during the time of the boys'
Thanks.
deaths. It
Appreciate
seems
it.
that this extends to more than just Dan, however. Dan's assistant, a man by the name of Richard Garrett, helped him with the initial prosecution. In other words, he helped Dan cover up evidence. Unsolved Mysteries, the television series that is known for trying to get viewers to call in if they know anything about Unsolved Mysteries, covered the story of the boys on the tracks while the first investigation was happening. In other words, the one where Dan was the prosecutor. At the end of the episode, they asked people to call into Richard Garrett, as he would be manning the incoming phone calls
no,
to
don't
see if
actually.
anyone has information. People who called Richard Garrett said that shortly afterwards, they were sent death threats by anonymous people over the phone who said,
Jesse, I'm banning you. Jesse just got banned, chat.
kill them
He's gone
if
forever.
They ever
I just banned him for
anything
life.
About the boys on the tracks. It was also
I just banned him for
Richard
life.
Garrett
No, it's probably, he
who
probably
Keith
knows that's a
McCassell
banned
went
word.
to shortly before his own murder. And if you'll remember,
Gosh, dang
Keith
it.
McCassell told his story and then regretted it
I
immediately
love apples.
after
Thanks, Tucker, for talking about
killed.
something
Also,
normal,
remember
at least.
the two officers
Thank
who
God.
were supposedly the actual killers, and according to witnesses, beat up the boys before throwing them in the back of the car? Well, those two officers were identified
Finally,
as
I
Jay
hated that
Campbell
guy.
and Kirk Lane. Kirk was also spotted on several occasions threatening people who were supposed witnesses in the case before their untimely demise. And in one instance, a witness who was later killed said that Kirk Lane shot up his house in the middle of the night after the witness had given his story to police.
That sounds
so
fun.
they seem to be two corrupt officers who were potentially the actual hitmen for the boys and were working in a part of this greater conspiracy.
But they'll never get.
Well, in the years following the
So
case,
what are they going to
an
get?
episode of
2 weeks no
Obstruction
pay?
of Justice was aired on television, which straight up said that Jay Campbell
Sounds about
and
fair
Kirk
for murdering
Lane
2 young
were
children
the
if you're a
two
police
lead
officer.
suspects
2
in
weeks
the
no
killing
pay.
of the two boys. Keep in mind,
Sounds
these
good?
two are
Sounds
still
good.
police
Okay.
officers, at least at that time. The two officers sued Obstruction of Justice for falsely claiming that they were the
ban 'em.
suspects
Yeah.
in the case, or defaming them for most likely being the killers, and they lost the case because it was ruled
Did they
that
turn
the
on
two
hacks? What the hell?
are in fact the most likely killers. Jay Campbell later went to prison for unrelated charges of sex trafficking while being a cop, and Kirk Lane
Yep, sounds about right.
again, allegedly.
2 weeks no
Also,
pay?
the case of the two boys has been open and closed
Sound good?
on
Call it
9
even?
different occasions. One of those times when the county tried in earnest to find out what happened to the two. The sheriff hired an investigator to full-time work the case,
Say hello
similar
to
to John
Rez
Brown
in the
years
shadow
before.
realm.
And then that sheriff and
Yeah, something like
investigator
that.
were arrested for trafficking. Also, remember that Richard Garrett guy? Well, it seemed that there wasn't anything official on him until years later when someone bought the house he used to live in, and whenever the new homeowner moved in, he found that hidden behind a false wall was a meth lab. So while
I
Richard
can't believe
Garrett
it.
was the assistant prosecutor who was trying to clean up the county, he had a meth lab in his house. It should also be mentioned that whenever that homeowner
It was just a
called the
model
police
meth
and
lab,
said, "I
guys.
found a
He was
meth
just
lab,"
seeing how they
that
do
a
it.
cop came over to his house and told him to throw all of it away immediately, and even offered to help the guy
can't
take
talk?
it all
I
to the dump.
forgot.
So it's nice to know, if nothing else,
Send
that
Jesse
they're consistent. People have
to
come forward in the years since claiming to have information.
I forgot
or
about
even
Sugar
be a
Daddy. That
witness
was so
to the events
funny.
That happened that night. One
That
of them
ended up being Herm
WWF
Heimlich, by the way,
wrestler
chat.
Billy Haynes.
That was staged. I didn't know, but that was Herm Heimlich. It was not actually somebody
I love
from
this job. I love doing
from the
this.
website, even though I
But
thought it
truly
was.
wish all of you can know the feeling of researching a true crime case for days, and then this guy shows up as a witness. Don't believe his story. So I
That's
went
awesome.
through and listened to him, and the guy just keeps changing details and then making stuff up, and he's just in it for the glitz and the glory.
You're afraid with our
But still, just reading about this and then seeing that
Had a
one of
meth
the
lab
5
once,
mystery
Family
people
Guy
on the
call.
track
Yeah, the
was
time I had a meth
professional
lab.
wrestler, while not true, is what I live for. Also, it turns out that the FBI and eventually the CIA and the DEA all have separate investigations regarding this case. They began all the way back when
I don't
rumors
believe
of
it.
corruption started.
Maybe they'll
in
get
88.
3
And
weeks
from
no
there, the
play
FBI
and
began
a
to
1
catalog
month
what
suspension.
happened. In
Suspension,
FBI's
the
own
worst
findings,
punishment
they
known
are
to
very
man.
determined and sure that there is a conspiracy involving local law enforcement that relates to the death of these 2 boys, with other administrations coming to similar conclusions. So why then, if all the public officials who are supposedly a part of it or guilty according to the witnesses,
that's what you were doing,
have all been arrested for supposedly unrelated drug charges, and if all the federal institutions who reviewed the case said, yeah, they probably did it, then why hasn't there at least been a good trial or investigation? Well,
because
that's
they're police officers.
While we seemingly found a lot of people who were responsible, it seems that there's a lot more who don't want their name out in the open. Because as I mentioned, this investigation is not just about the murder of these 2 boys, it's about the overall trafficking ring that took place and potentially is taking place in Arkansas. Something I didn't mention earlier, because the details weren't relevant until now, is that in 1993, whenever, if you'll remember, Detective Brown started a legitimate investigation into what happened, Charlene Wilson
my brain is an apple and soon a bullet. Oh, fun.
This theoretically would be enough to start an actual trial.
Okay.
In the confession letter, Charlene names Dan Wilson as being the ringleader and the one who's responsible, if not directly, then by order, of the death of the 2 boys. However, this letter, although given by a signed witness, was discredited, and the families of the 2 boys were told that it was just
that's a lot. That's too much.
And
the police would never do that much. For only murdering 2 young boys,
for unrelated charges.
2 months no pay? How are they supposed to feed their family?
Sick
Ridiculous.
Years, and confessed that she was forced to write this letter by the local police. So let's think about this. Dan Harmon was supposedly the ringleader. He was the front guy in all of this. But at this point in 1993, there had been 3 different investigations into the case, and seemingly people weren't going away. So conveniently during this time, the police forced one of the witnesses to write a
sounds like
letter
an appropriate
that
punishment.
only names Dan Harmon as the person who was present. And then whenever people at the time in 1993 ask about it, they simply say that it's ridiculous cannon fodder and they shouldn't
swimming
look
with
into
concrete
it.
boots
and
with
again,
your kids.
I'm
that sounds fun.
speculating all
what kind of game is that, Tucker? Is that a German game? I've never played that before.
The police decided that Dan should be the fall guy. As it turns out, he eventually was.
Fall guy.
Forcing Charlene to write a letter that only names him could have been the scapegoat. Now, in spite of all that, there should still be enough evidence to take some of this to trial, right? Well, it turns out the majority of the FBI, CIA, DEA, all of the documents look like this. Despite being a 35-year-old case, they are completely redacted, and nearly all of the names of people involved have been removed. I couldn't possibly imagine why. Like, looking here at the list of names of people associated with the case, I don't see anything suspicious. Like, for example, this guy, he's the one who ended up giving the medical examiner,
what's wrong with you?
Mallet guy who said all the wild stuff. As a matter of fact, this guy not only assigned him and gave him his position, but he also gave him a raise after the entire thing. Oh, and it also says here that he was the governor of Arkansas during the time, and that he relates to the greater conspiracy at large. Some Bill Clinton.
Galaxy Opal, by the way.
I have no idea how that would turn out, so I can't
Literally
be sure if that's a name that the FBI would want removed from redacted files, so I can't possibly know where any of that would go. So because of that, I guess we'll just never know if that's an important person who, for some reason, the FBI wouldn't want on an open file. I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
A total of 16,600 pages of evidence and reports made by the federal government. And despite family and investigators' request, only 2,000 of that 16,600 have ever been made public. And again, they all look like this. And the only reason that any of this has been known is because of the fortitude of people like Linda Ives and Gene Duffy. Linda Ives, whose son was killed in this tragic circumstance, remained steadfast throughout her entire life to see some justice brought for her son.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
If it wasn't for her constantly trying to rattle the cages of the people who wouldn't do anything about it or didn't want anything to be done about it, no investigations, no headway into the case would ever been made. And Gene Duffy, if you'll remember the original person who started to put pieces together, she joined back to the investigation in 1994 and was instrumental in putting Dan Harmon away. Not only that, but an investigative writer by the name of Mara Leverett wrote a fantastic book about the entire case, breaking down the pieces and trying to spread the word about what happened. But to this day, despite things like the Freedom of Information Act and
Gibby Wemby.
morality, the true records of what happened are still unknown. And perhaps
Wemby.
most tragically,
Couldn't have been more
Linda
garbage.
Ives
Give me
passed
Wemby
away
right now.
on
Wemby,
June the
Wemby,
3rd of last year,
Wembenyana, Victor
never having
Wembenyana.
witnessed justice for her sons on this side of
Boom.
eternity. But she managed to stoke the fire enough that people are still pushing for some form of clarity or justice to this
Pink
day.
Diamond.
And new clues and
Unsellable,
information are coming out to this day. As a matter of fact, there are probably a lot of people who would have seen justice for all of this if the records had been disclosed.
Who's this?
Because according to what we can
Okay.
see, it's like
Okay.
the FBI has all the names, places, and people lined out. They just won't release that
'em.
information to the public. Even though, and I know this may sound a little kooky, but the government is supposed to
right?
work for the
Yeah.
people. So when the FBI collects records,
No, the
those
government
are
does not work
supposed
for
to
people,
be
my
our
friend. Not
records.
anymore.
Now I know that's the opposite of how
They work for
everything
themselves.
works, but the very
Self-employed.
least we can do is hold them accountable to that standard.
Self-investigated.
So if this has interested you, and if you want to know more, there are a couple things I'm going to point out to you. As mentioned earlier, Carnage on Ice's channel does a fantastic job of breaking all of this down. However, the other resource for it is the ID Files. The ID Files is a website that was
My
started
brain
by
kind of
Linda
fried from
Ives.
mindless
ID
labor,
being
yeah.
from her last name,
Fuck
Ives,
off.
and Dawn's first
No,
name,
Tucker,
Dawn.
no.
And it is a total
Don't do
collection
it.
and breakdown of current happenings and records regarding the case. Again, Linda Ives has since passed away, but several who knew her personally are carrying
That's
the
a
website
shame.
on in her honor. Not
Nothing's
only
gonna
that,
happen then.
but Carnage on Ice is taking steps to make
Bigman
these
Tucker
hidden
29
FBI
says,
files
Crunch, do you
part of the
remember
public
Apple Day?
record.
For me,
One
it's
of the
Apple
things
Day
he's
every
doing
day.
for that right now is
Oh, really? Do you do
change.org
that every day?
petition
That's
that he
awesome,
set up
Tucker.
that
I'm a
is
big
not
fan.
asking for anyone specifically to be brought to justice or for any grand conspiracy to be revealed, just for the feds to do the thing where they make the knowledge, not just theirs, as is common with most criminal investigations. Now,
They would
I
never.
understand that change.org isn't like a magic
You're a
button.
little Apple
It's not
boy.
like
That's awesome,
if the petition
Tucker.
gets
Good for
200
you. I'm
signatures,
proud of you.
the FBI's like, oh no, I guess we're done, boys. But if nothing else, it's shaking the table.
What a
little
dunk,
bit.
Harden.
Because I could not imagine having people I know dying in this circumstance, and not just the boys on the tracks, but the 6 other witnesses who died after the fact. And to know that the information is there and that it's been gathered, compiled, and researched, but you're just not allowed to look at it. And if it's the names of people who have since passed, then we need to know for our own clarity. And if it's the names of people who have not passed and are still instrumental in governments, then we really need to know for our clarity. But again,
Yes,
this is a
but
case
they would
that
never
deeply
tell us
interests
because
me, and
who's
it's
in
amazing
charge?
to me that after 35 years, it's still being covered up and there's still developments in it. And if you're interested in this at all, hopefully I've given you enough
Stain
of a
my
starting
balls at
point or
what?
information to do your own research and explore it yourself. And while cases like this
I'm not going
are
to
very
explore
tragic and
myself because you asked me
heartbreaking,
to, Wendigo.
if we don't tell our stories, then they
What the
die
hell?
with us. And I hope that through me or someone who watches this and wants to get some information, or at some point in the future, I hope that the story is told enough that something happens and all those who were affected by this can finally rest in peace. Or if you're like me with most stories and you just heard all of that and was like, wow, well, that's pretty cool. Not, again, the murder part, like,
You
it's
should
just
know
a
what a
really
Stein is.
fascinating
You're German.
series of
What is it?
very
I'm
bad
not German.
things, then I
Explain
want
it
to
to me.
say I'm right there with you, because this stuff fascinates me too. And hopefully you enjoyed it as much as one could possibly enjoy the travesties of man, because I definitely enjoyed you watching this, and I just want to say thank you for watching. This is
You're
a very
welcome,
interesting
Wendigoon.
case. It's something
All right, I have more videos here recommended by Hannah. Hold on. One here is Russia's most haunting mystery.
Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in and sit on down. Today, we're talking about hiking. Well, kind of. There's always been some kind of crazy hiking stories, right? The Donner Party being one of them, which resulted in some kind of
Papa
weird
Meat?
stuff. Or even
I
the
never
guy
watched
who,
him
not
before.
necessarily hiking, but went out
Is this
and rode
Meat Canyon?
bicycles and, 127 hours.
Same guy?
Getting trapped and having to cut off your arm and drink your piss and all that kind of stuff. All I'm saying is that hiking is a very peculiar thing. Today, hiking is involved in one of Russia's craziest and most controversial mysteries, which this time in Russia,
Yeah,
it was
same
the
guy?
Cold
Okay,
War era.
cool.
Right after World War II, all the way up until the 90s, there was a big period of time where people were talking about secret experiments, super weapons,
Good.
all kinds of crazy things that Russia was doing. And God damn it, if the world wasn't absolutely
Think
horrified
this one's
of
about
them.
the
Which even
Wendigo
this
video
Cold
we
War era
watched,
is
though?
very-
Oh.
it's considered the Russian Area 51.
Is it?
It's perplexed people for over 50 years now. Nuclear physicists who work around 22 years old, like college people.
Yeah, it is. You're right. Hold on. Which fandom smells the worst? You sent me which fandom smells the worst. Somewhere in smelly meatland.
Oh, hey you, Hunter. You stink. Oh.
Like I
I'm
smell
not
that or
watching
what?
this one.
Yeah.
That is disturbing to me. That I can't see stuff like that. I don't like that. I'm gonna watch the other one. Jeff the Killer. Don't scare it. Hey, don't jump scare me. Why are you so loud? Don't jump scare me. I think Fate fans smell the worst. Are you kidding me? At conventions, the people who dress up in Fate cosplays are always the most cleanly people you ever meet. You kidding me? You're just saying that because you know I like Astolfo. You know I'm a Fate fan.
Welcome back to Creepcast.
Oh, is this just a...
We are talking about one
they're
of
talking
the OG
together.
classics.
The boys talk together. Wow.
Date. There's been some speculation of when
Post
exactly
moves.
this thing
I hate
was
doing post
live
moves. Blah.
or whatever.
I don't
know.
wanna,
But
blah.
today
You
we're
can't
talking
make
about
me,
Jeff
blah.
the Killer.
Code
If you
Geass
haven't
fans
heard of
smell the
Jeff
worst?
Killer,
Okay,
you've
now you're
probably
just saying
seen
stuff I
this
love.
image here. I feel like
JoJo
everybody
Bizarre
on the
Adventure
internet has
fans
seen this
and
image.
Code
One of the
Geass
most
fans
classic
named Big Man
internet
Crunch smell the
images
worst.
of all time.
It is.
Big Man Crunch
It's a
fans,
good
yeah.
one.
How about that? Big
I
Man
like
Crunch
it.
fans.
You know, it's one of those.
My
it's a
Hero
nice
fans,
blown-out
yeah.
image. You know, it kind of works in
Absolutely.
a bunch of different ways. I feel like it works in some comedy memes while also being a bit spooky. It's a jack of all trades, which I enjoy.
I'm jumping the gun a little bit on the analysis, but I truly think the most impactful thing to come out of the entire story is that image.
It is probably the only positive, if I'm being completely transparent.
Not just for
I'm
Jeff
Galaxy
the
Apples.
Killer,
Why am I
but
getting
for,
pushed
where
like
the
around like
Network
I'm
went
rubber?
as a whole. Like this was one of the first
What
images.
Chucker
that
said is
was
probably
kind of in
true,
that
yeah.
Shaky, like
Trust me, I've been to the
found
conventions,
footage,
chat.
There's something in
Trust.
my house tone, and that's like most of what internet
Dude!
became after that. So I think
it does have that. Yeah, it does have that.
Why are they bullying
catalog
Galaxy
kind of
Opals
vibe.
right now? This is
Like,
98
kind of,
James
like,
Harden.
weird,
Who am I even
uncanny,
facing right now?
It looks like
Is this
someone,
Kyrie Irving
like,
or
was being
freaking
attacked
Michael
and
Jordan?
Uploaded it right before they died. It gives that whole vibe to
Oh
it.
my gosh, no.
So I think the most impactful thing to come out of this
I
whole
peed
story
my
was that image.
pants.
And that was the peak because it's all downhill
Awesome.
from there.
It is.
He
it
always
is.
speaks
this
the
is
truth,
an interesting
yeah.
one because we started
He
off
must have
with
pissed his
the
pants.
Search and Rescue series, which we both enjoyed, and it's like it's just like a very fun, well-written classic.
This room's pretty
This
cool. Oh, they're
is,
both.
this
They're
is-
also
this
Galaxy
ages like
Opals. I
sour
see.
milk. I mean, if I had to,
makes
had to literally, when I got done reading,
I want that
this,
Galaxy
I thought
Opal
to myself,
Kyrie.
okay,
That'd
this
be
is
sick.
like, this is if they tried to make a superhero out of a school shooter, is what it sounds like to me. That's exactly what it read like. School shooter vigilante.
How am I supposed to
is what
get
it reads? And there's a lot of
post
influences, and
moves?
especially because I saw here that no one
When
knows where the
I'm
photo.
playing
Like, there's
against
no
this right now.
specified photo, but apparently the version that we read that I think is the most popular isn't even the original version. There's something I'm reading here called the Censor version. I don't know if I can pronounce that correctly. I don't know if you
Censored?
know that word, but on October 3rd of 2008. Censor.
Can he not say the word censored? Oh,
That may be pronounced Susur.
Susur.
Maybe.
Dr.
There we go.
Susur.
I have no idea.
It's the
Does that
Susur
count as
version.
a
You're
post
probably
move?
right.
No.
But that individual
Watch
uploaded a
it,
video
Tucker?
titled "Jeff the Killer" original story on
These
YouTube.
emojis tell
and
a
that video
story, do
predates
they?
The famous creepypasta story.
Crunch
So I'm
pogs
guessing
at
that
Doito and then
the
he hates
creepypasta
it.
story
Oh, I'm
came out
pogging
around
and then
the
I see
same
Doito
time
and then I hate it. Yeah.
As that, probably in the 2008s,
But I'm no
which if
longer
I'm
pogging.
also correct, around 2008 is when the Dark
makes-
Knight
that-
came
that
out,
does tell a
which
story.
feels even more.
That was a post
inspired.
move,
Like,
and
I
they
feel
knocked
like they literally
over
saw Heath Ledger's Joker and were like,
Zion
"That's
Williamson.
the coolest thing
Okay, yeah, sure.
I've ever seen in my life." Because it feels like there's so many call-outs to that in this story.
Give me that.
But yeah, there's apparently the Susur version. There's some different kinds of.
I can't make a post move off
delineations
this
and
team.
Differences, but
Bigman Tucker 29 says Doito P63
the one
hi
that people,
Bigman
at least the one that I
63 hi
read, the one that
Bigman
seems to be more
63
famous
hi
is the one
Bigman
that was
63 bean by.
re-uploaded or like the
I will eat you
reboot
whole.
or whatever of the original version, which is the one we decided to read together. But yeah, no, I mean without further ado, I think let's just kind of jump into it.
I am so excited. So yeah, it seems like, at least from what we can tell historically,
I can't do a
there
post move off
was
these people.
a YouTube video
Or steal,
uploaded,
apparently.
like a short little thing just to show off the face, to show that like it was creepy.
Not doing
whoever
that.
Made it, and then the story got made like shortly thereafter to go along with the face and give it an explanation. That's what it seems like happened.
To this day, it's a point of debate where the Jeff the Killer image came from. There's some people who say
it's probably just somebody's friend.
Like this selfie a girl posted.
Uber Tree says Sigma Balls.
But
Katie Robinson.
Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about, right? Where she's kind of in a dark room. But
Sigma
that's
balls.
been debunked.
Okay, no.
There were theories of it being like a school project for a scary story, but then that's got debunked. Like it's still a mystery where the image came from, but it looks like it was the image and then the story got attached to it. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today is Hunter and I were discussing like, oh, what other famous early internet horror stories should we cover? So a lot of good ones came to my mind, like No
I wish
House,
you didn't have Doito right now.
Showers,
No offense, but you don't need it.
and
No one
Stairs
needs
in the
it.
Woods
It's
that we
not
talked
healthy.
about last
Doito
episode.
is an unhealthy addiction.
Like there's so
I'm
many
here to
good
put an end
stories.
to
But
it.
then while we were thinking about it, I said, you know, it's a little disingenuous to say every single early internet horror story was good. Not to say it wasn't effective, because Jeff the Killer terrified me for months on end when that story came out, when I saw that face. And then as I was thinking about it, I'm like, man, I'm sure it is way worse than I remember. So to give some context, Hunter has compiled this document and like read the stuff to make the document out. I haven't looked at this story in over 10 years.
Do the James Harden shuffle. Hey, you're not bullying me.
I'm so ready.
It's truly a yin and yang kind of situation of somebody who is going in already having dodged all the bullets, and now you're going in with, you know, hellfire raining down on you. So I hope you're ready.
Yeah, I remember
it's Doito than crack. You know, that's fair.
Like I said, it's been a while, so I can't wait for.
But both are bad for you. I'm here to help.
And without further ado, I will get us started in here. We also
Talking
heard some
about Jeff
feedback
the
from
Killer
your
makes me
guys'
think
stuff,
about all
so
those
we will
crappy
be reading
PNG
directly from
MVs
it,
for Insanity
and,
back
you know,
in
getting
2013.
you all loosey and juicy in the story here. So, here we go. The story starts with an excerpt from a local newspaper talking about how the killer is still on the loose and on the rise. Very little evidence has been gathered, but a young boy survived an attack from the killer and tells his story, which just to me was just kind of a funny way to start the story.
It's all
because
so many early horror stories did
What?
that, you know, like
Zion, why would you do that? Don't. Zion, why would you do that? Dunk. I deserve a nerd for that.
The cold open is always just like, there's a death, someone died, and then it just jumps to something else.
That is true. Yeah. Which
Painful
I was gonna say,
memories,
do you want to read as the young boy, or do you want me to read as the young boy?
I'll take it. I'll take this one because again, this is like meeting a childhood friend, only to find out that he's like a crack addict now and like homeless.
Awesome.
So, like this is going to be sad for me.
A
Like,
tale as old as time itself.
Yeah, of course. The old crack addict high school friend story. We all know it.
Of course.
But like this story was one of like my first exposures to internet horror, and we see how that, you know, lineage took place in my life. So this is going to be really depressing for me. So I'll go ahead and start.
Uber Tree says Crunch loves playing with balls.
No, I don't. I'm a baller. It's different.
First off, you got to give us more of a boy voice than that.
Fine,
if he's a little boy, come on now.
I had a bad dream. Is that better?
That is horrible. Okay, go back to the regular. But that's
I had a bad dream.
Oh my God.
I think I caught something.
Guys, should I start acting like I'm in the
podcast?
podcast? Should I act like I'm a part of the podcast?
Like one of the 800 influencers gave it to me.
Really?
So, yeah, you definitely got sick from one of the 800 influencers.
Yeah, that or I got shot. I can't tell, but either way.
We got shot, dude. No.
Today, so we're going back to my first step. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I'm also holding the microphone closer to my mouth to blow out everyone's speakers.
Jesse 1550 says Crunch loves sweaty men running around and grabbing balls.
I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. Wait, hold on. Immediately. How old is the boy in this story?
I think he's like.
This is one of the most frustrating.
Yeah, you know.
29 says Crunch loves LeBron. He my sunshine.
Of the fucking characters.
All right, so let's say it's the kid who's like had a bad dream, woke up the middle of the night. Let's be generous and say he's 10. Okay.
I was gonna say 10.
Okay, yeah,
10
10 sounds good. Yeah.
10
Let's say
boy,
10, guys.
right?
Let's say 10.
Yeah, it's a boy.
So
a little boy.
There's a 10-year-old who is speaking to the police about attempted murder, and he says, "I got up and shut it once more." afterwards. I simply crawled up. Like, could you imagine a child? This way?
No, I couldn't imagine.
I
that,
can't.
man.
We can't.
Afterwards, I simply crawled under my cover. Yeah, no.
It doesn't work.
No. And then it feels even weird where it's like a 19-year-old having this, like, this
right.
kind of thing and referring to it as a boy.
Yeah.
I had a nightmare and I woke up. Yeah.
Yeah. I got scared. I went to find my mommy. We can't do this for the whole like thing because we'll be here all day. I'm sure. I just have a feeling. So that's my blanket criticism for the whole story. Children don't talk that way. Anyway, that's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light, illuminating from between my curtains. I'm just sorry. I just said I wouldn't keep criticizing it for that, but that's so funny. Illuminating from between my curtains.
It's H.P. Lovecraft as a child. it's 10-year-old H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Right.
From between my curtains were a pair of two eyes. It's like, how old are you?
Yeah, Jesse, next time you say something out of pocket, I'm just timing you out. For 600 seconds. You're going to have to trust Hannah changes that after like 30 seconds to something else.
Oh, yeah. I would love if this was Keith David's 10-year-old experience.
I'm sure we could pay him for a cameo, get him to narrate the story.
You'd have to think so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good use for podcast funds. Anyway. Illuminating from between my curtains were a pair of two eyes.
I'm more likely to increase it. Oh, that's fair. Yeah, if you want to do that, feel free. 10 minutes isn't that long? Okay.
Dark, ominous eyes.
Well, make sure you don't do anything out of pocket, or else you get 10 minutes in the chamber.
Just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up.
Gulp. Is this
Figure stood
Jeff?
watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever,
Give him an hour? Yeah, okay.
simple phrase,
Sounds good.
But said in a way only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed.
It's such a bad fanfiction.
I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder.
Oh.
The man I'm sorry. just the thought of like, I know movies do it all the time, but it's really not that easy to throw a knife. And like,
I was thinking that too.
Trust me, as soon as you get done with this blurb, I have plenty of thoughts. I swear to God.
I'll power through. All right.
Yeah.
The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off.
You got 2 apples at home. That's great.
What? Okay.
Tomorrow gonna be a feast.
They drove into the parking lot and
hungry.
ran towards the door. The man
with the
turned and
86-400
ran
for
down the
real?
hallway.
No, I don't want
I
to if
heard
I
a
don't have
smash,
to.
like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out it to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing, I will never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head.
Right. So this is the preamble entry into this story.
We steal your apples? Oh, get screwed, Tucker.
Hello.
Hello?
Characters are.
Is this a premiere or live? Oh no, I'm live. Sorry, I wasn't looking at YouTube chat. I'm dual streaming Twitch and YouTube, so I didn't see. Hi, Boomcrafter. Hi.
Story of a preamble of some kind of newscast. It's fun. We see it in some kind of movies.
My fault.
The problem with this for me is one,
this is
like
live.
you said, the child doesn't sound like a child.
Yeah.
And then also, there's a couple things. One, if we are to assume that that is a child.
We are
Am I supposed to be afraid of something that can be overpowered and kicked off by a 10-year-old? Okay? Number one. Yeah. And then number two.
Oh, great. Hold on.
With the dad coming in,
that was
is it supposed to be badass?
I have to reboot?
That
okay.
Smiling character can
that was
throw a knife to such a perfect degree and hit the dad in the shoulder. Like, is this now an action sequence? It completely takes out any of the actual suspense and terror of anything going on. When I'm like, okay, now this is just turning it like I'm picturing this smiling figure as like Jason Statham or something like that.
Yeah,
like a tiny little man. But
oh my gosh, bro's actually rebooting. Holy crap!
And then,
holy crap, bro's actually rebooting.
Showing up's one of the worst because it's nothing was happening. He was hiding in the
good
room.
fish video the other day, Crunch. Thanks, Jesse.
Maybe a minute. and the police are in the driveway because the neighbor.
Tomorrow my apples are gone. I'm going to jump out of a window and donate my body's fur. Okay.
Well, how did the neighbor even?
Awesome,
and this
Tucker.
is all very
I'm
nitpicky.
glad.
We can get
of course,
maybe
but hey, that's what we're here for.
We are here to
Nice.
bitch and complain. So
John's getting me these dunks. I just put bro on the AT&T slam
I
cam.
guess it's just the thing of like, don't
Done. Oh,
immediately
nice, sick.
give the character an out.
He's rebooted.
Like, don't give the villain an
That's what's
out
up.
immediately, or the
Only
victims
wins for
an out, I
me.
should say, when it's like,
We're like
well, thank
OnlyFans
God
for
the
you.
neighbors just kind of so happen to hear something. It takes away all of the weight and momentum. But this is going to come back later. I do want to put this out later because,
Back
like I
up.
said, I thought that this.
Like I had to
was
fish for some
interesting,
stuff
but
together
will be
so
harping on
I
it
can
later.
count on my
So,
phone. It's really
we
okay.
are now
Yeah, that
introduced
sounds
to our main
really weird.
character, Jeff, a young man, presumably mid-teens, because once again, God
buy
forbid
Uber's
they give us
OnlyFans.
any kind of
What?
age to really
What?
give an idea. Not even like a grade. Like they say.
Did I just
'cause
get my
the whole thing here
steal?
is we're-
I just got
he's
my steal
presumably
from Zion
mid-teens,
too, and I'm about to get my
just
dunk with
him
him.
and
No
his family
way.
just moved to a quote
On Michael
a
Jordan.
new fancy
Dunking on Michael Jordan?
neighborhood
No. I don't
Following
wanna
his
do that.
dad's
I don't wanna
promotion
do
at
that.
work, Jeff, along with his mom, whose name is Margaret, and his dad Peter, and Jeff has a younger brother named Lou, who are kind of just going along with this new place.
Outta
but they're
here.
living in this, they're like, it's cool that this is
Oh
the
man,
new.
this is coming back to me. Oh no.
Yeah,
Get outta here,
we're in
AD.
a new neighborhood, and it's cool because
I need a dunk, AD. Get outta here.
A quote unquote fancy neighborhood. But then they're interrupted by their neighbor Barbara, who stops by
Nice.
to introduce herself and her son named Billy, who seems to be
This
much
is a
younger
bot
than Jeff
reading
and
my
his
notes
brother
app,
Lou,
sending it to my
but invites
PC,
them
and
over
then
to
chatting it. Oh,
Billy's
cool.
birthday party in which Jeff
How?
agrees to have them all over, but Jeff isn't having it.
That's
and he,
cool.
quote says, "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed,
I already know the Jeff
I'm
Killer
not some
story.
dumb kid."
I love
That's
it
a
though.
legitimate quote.
That
from
was
the story
actually
reading.
like, I forget until you do it that you can actually do impressions really well. Because
I can do the quotes from now on if you want me to.
I'll do the quotes. I can do the reading, but I need you to do the children.
Let's see if we get Michael
I'll do-
Jordan.
yeah, I can do the-
We might get
I'll
him
do
right
the
here,
acting.
guys.
Cool,
we have
cool,
like a
that sounds good,
0.00001% chance to actually get
yeah,
Michael
I'm
Jordan.
remembering details of this story now. It does follow, like everything so far is a stereotype.
Booting my
cold
bot,
open,
awesome.
Someone tries to not die. You know what I mean?
All right, here comes Michael, chat.
Someone tries to die.
Fingers
yeah.
crossed.
And then
Here he
it's like,
comes.
well, we just moved to
Big
the
Mike.
new neighborhood.
Nope.
The neighbors are
Didn't
weird,
get him.
it feels
Got
very
garbage.
Very standard. Yeah.
I immediately started. I mean, like the beginning blurb, sure, it has its mistakes, but it wasn't until this direct quote, which is why I put it in here, where I said, "Oh God, we're in for this is going to be some schlocky, cheesy." Which I have no
What?
idea who wrote this story.
What did he just say?
But I assume it was someone who was probably around the same age as Jeff, which is also probably why they never allude to the actual age of anybody, because they're just like, "What's my age?" You know, that's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
But I love that.
When the
I
game
love
is
this
60
line.
points,
It feels like
I don't know
something
if
out
it's
of a
worth it
cheesy,
yet.
like
see.
extremely B tier
What else
horror
do we
film.
have
Not
here?
like
Mom.
the other kids. Yeah, yeah.
Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid. Which is so cliche. Of like, I'm older now, Mom. I'm an old kid.
Mike-
but it doesn't come
Michael
across
Jordan?
as like
No, don't say
also,
Mike L. Jordan.
like,
I like him.
genuine or charismatic. It comes across
switched
as
to
fucking,
Trevor
like,
on GT.
annoying.
What?
And it immediately sets in my mind that Jeff is an incel.
Michael F.
I immediately started saying he's like a Reddit 4chan
Purple guy.
kid who's like, God. And then now, because then I started reading, I was like, oh God, his lines read so much better. If his voice is like this, and he's like,
Is that Stewie
"Mom,
Griffin?
why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid. God.
That is what it seems like.
It's so much better as like a nasally, annoying, like,
It's
we got moved into this fancy neighborhood. Thanks, Dad.
it does keep the tone of like don't you know I'm better than this? Don't you know I'm above all this?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm supposed to be on RuneScape. I don't want to be hanging out with Billy. I'm supposed to be killing rats in RuneScape.
I have better things to do than socialize.
Verbal guy, verbal
Yeah,
nerd.
idiot.
Dude, that's
But-
awesome.
Stupid.
But Jeff's mom, she isn't having it. All right,
Yep.
she doesn't give a
I
shit. She's
really
like, you're gonna go to the party.
I really
all right?
freaking hate
That's
Stewie and
fine.
Family Guy. I don't know
She's
why,
like, you
but
know,
I
you need
hate
to
him.
Socialize. You need to get
Is it
out of
because
the
of his
room, stop
accent,
playing
Tucker, you
RuneScape.
think?
That's an ad lib.
Why do you hate
that's,
him?
You know, that's not in the story, but that's what I like to think.
It's like, Brian.
And Jeff goes up to
I
his
can't do
room,
it.
realizing
Brian.
that arguing with his mom isn't going to get him anywhere. But then something strange happens, and quote, this is from the story. He says, he walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking
I'm
at
too
his
good.
ceiling.
Holy
and
crap.
suddenly, he got a weird feeling. Not so much a pain.
No, because he's a stupid
weird
baby.
feeling.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
He dismissed it as if some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. So what I
Wow.
like about this is
God
he had
tier
a
writing.
It seems like
a very feeling feeling.
He had a feeling that was a feeling. It wasn't a painful feeling, but it was a weird feeling. Which I don't know what kind of mental psychosis.
Same, Tucker.
Jeff
Not
is
a
starting
fan
to
of
feel. But
Stewie?
this is where
Really?
I'm like,
Okay.
this is
Okay.
immediately, once again, like I said.
Who do you like the?
this
Who's
is-
everybody's
it's gonna start
favorite
coming full circle,
character
but
in Family
this
Guy?
little
Let's
thing is, it doesn't feel like a
guys. Let's do real Family Guy roleplay with the say command, and I'll turn on the Family Guy music. But first, you guys have to pick what Family Guy character you want. I get Peter. No, I get Joe because I'm good at Joe's voice. So I get Joe. Who wants
Feeling
the
you
other
like
people?
mental deterioration.
But I did not
It
get
feels-
hold down to
Uber Tree
fast
says,
forward.
hey,
somebody-
Bedger.
Yeah, who do you want?
Going.
I like Peter
kind
and
of
Joe. Well,
becoming
I'm
a bit
Joe.
wacky
Nobody can be Joe.
is
I'm
what I
Joe.
would
Yeah,
say.
I
All right?
completely forgot about this until just
Hey.
now that was
Yeah.
something they tried to build in.
I'm Joe.
That, like this child.
Who do you guys
this
wanna be?
child is just sitting in his
First
bed,
serve.
and he's-
First
he can
person who
feel
says
the
he gets
feeling.
it.
I completely
For
forgot
Family Guy
about that.
roleplay
This is
day.
way- for
I'll
the
be
podcast,
Quagmire
this
since
is
I'm as
much
messed up as
better
he is.
than I
That's
remember,
fitting,
but, like,
Jesse. You would be
objectively, this
Quagmire.
is way worse
I'm
than I
Lois.
remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lois.
Lois.
This
Hey,
whole
Lois.
preamble is
That looks AI generated.
You
doesn't it?
showed how
don't
immature
look
it
like
is,
that.
but it's
Jesse can be
charming. I
the
don't
old
wanna
man.
get-
Oh,
yeah,
Jesse,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
want to be
It has a layer of charm
the guy's
to
like,
it, but
"Hey,
it's the idea
Chris."
of like it's
the old,
something
the
charming
old
because
pedo?
it's so
Is that who you want to be?
it's so amateur. But it's like
That would make
what,
sense,
what
too.
feeling though? Like I don't
Herbert?
know what
Yeah,
feeling
that's
it
his
is.
name.
It's like is
It's
it
a
supposed to be
feeling
magical?
feeling, Hunter. Gosh,
I literally
it's a
thought
story
that
Yeah.
that is true. It is a feeling.
It's a weird
I was
one.
wondering at this. I was wondering at this point, is it going to go into magic? It's what I thought because it's like it's a not a pain feeling, but a weird feeling, and I'm like, is he going to get superpowers somehow? I don't know. But
by the end of the story, he
That's
does. by the
Jesse,
way.
yeah,
Like,
Jesse
I do
would be
remember
He
Herbert.
flies
how
away and he has a
weird
cape.
it gets. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Also,
but
something I want to clarify: if you've never, for one of the reasons we're making fun of it
That's
as much
no
as we
way
are
I
is this is one of
missed
the
that.
bedrocks of like internet horror, and one of the things that
Get
got
outta
me
here.
into it originally.
Get
So it's
outta
like making
here.
fun of my grandpa, right? Like it's very important. I recognize it's very important. I'm still gonna mock
All right,
it
so
for,
who
like,
does Tucker get?
throwing
Tucker
up
gets
at
Lois.
Thanksgiving, right? 'Cause it's-
Hannah,
I
who do you
think
want?
People also need to understand that sometimes when you point and you are having fun with something, it's not that necessarily you don't like it, but I think it's like you can.
Hannah,
you can
who do you want
laugh
for
at
Family
things
Guy
that you
roleplay night?
appreciate and that you
Yeah,
like.
of
I think that
course.
people don't understand that.
I don't know
think
many of
that's
the
why
character
so many
names.
People get up in arms when it's
There's
like, you don't like
Chris,
this
the
thing that I
blonde-haired
like.
guy.
And it's like I do like
Meg,
it, but it is
the
kinda
girl with the
stupid
hat
and
who
fun.
everyone like
Yeah.
makes
So
fun
I think
of.
that it's I like plenty of things, and I respect plenty of things that I love to point at that I know
Peter.
are objectively kind of shitty. And
Nobody's
that's
taking
fine.
Peter.
That's like that's a part of the beautiful thing about just even
What?
these stories is that
Away? What?
if all of them were bangers,
There's
none of
Peter.
them would
There's
be remotely special.
and he gets it,
Like,
dude.
you
what
have
the-
to have
Exactly.
these kind of goofy ones to really appreciate not
Maybe
only
the
the
greased
goofy
up
stories,
deaf
but the
guy.
ones that are made.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that are very good. But anyways,
Hey everyone, so I wanted to take a break from the podcast to talk about how thankful I am that you all are here. And to
You're
talk about the
you're
real
welcome.
reason
I would
that
like to
we're
get back
here
to
in
the
first
podcast though.
place. In person, but I on the player for
except the next day.
Dear God. Dear God, bro had a lot to say.
He has a feeling the next day. All right.
French, I'm Joe. No, I
Except
already
this
said
time
I'm
he compares
Joe.
it to a tugging pain. So I'm like, okay, well now he's.
I
having a
already
heart
said I'm
attack
Joe.
or something. I don't know what's
No.
happening to him, but he dismisses
The
it.
res would
Good
be
man.
Meg, yeah.
You know,
Except
Jeff-
Meg is
he
actually
feels the
innocent
pain, he
and
says,
like
"Whatever, I
doesn't
don't
do
care."
anything wrong.
And
They
Jeff
just
and
make
his
fun of
brother
her for no
finish their
reason. So I
breakfast
don't think
and
that's
go to the
true.
bus stop where we get maybe one of the cringiest antagonist intros ever, which is
Rez would be the
a
nerd
boy named
emoji
Randy.
guy
Yes,
who's
please
like
do.
got the red hair and the glasses.
Also,
that would
for
be
everyone
him.
listening, if you
Everyone
think
makes
we're
fun of him, but he
joking
deserves
because
it.
We went from a murder description at the beginning to this. That's how the story goes.
This is the legitimate flow of the story.
We have not skipped anything. It goes from someone almost dying to I'm not like those other kids.
No,
and
Rez
then
would be
what I'm about
the
to read,
red-haired
okay?
guy with the glasses, the
All
nerd,
right, so
the walking
referring
nerd
to the
emoji.
bullies at the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped
Wow.
back in surprise.
Is this when the kid has a
Hey,
knife?
What the hell? The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with with his hands. The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger
About
than
12.
Jeff. We got an age.
Okay, so there you go.
We got an age.
So Jeff is 13.
Jeff's 13.
Okay.
Jeff's 13. Okay, cool.
Okay.
That makes this way
Awesome.
worse for him.
It does. It does.
But continuing. The kid seems to be about 12. 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. So Jeff and his brother are at the bus stand, and then this kid in a, as described,
But whenever Rez talks, everyone says, "Shut up, Rez." Yeah, because he deserves it.
Well,
though.
well. It looks
Meg
like
doesn't
we got
deserve
some
it.
new meats.
I don't know what you deleted, but it's probably necessary. I don't know what Jesse said.
Suddenly,
Peter
two
did a lot of
other
weird stuff. He's a little
kids
weird.
appeared. One was
Peter,
super
Joe just
skinny,
stood up
and
and
the other
walked
was
away.
huge. Well, since you're new here,
Oh, are we doing
I'd like to
roleplay night yet?
introduce
Okay. I hope
ourselves.
everyone's got their characters in order.
Over there.
Hold on. I hope everyone's got their characters in order here. Oh wait, I can't play the Family Guy intro. That's copyrighted. Gosh dang it. Gosh dang it. I don't want to get copyright strike. I'm trying to get my
Jeff and
monetization
Lou
right
look
now,
over
chat.
to the
I just
skinny
got
kid.
approved for it,
He had
but
a
I need to put my
dopey
tax
face
info
that
and
you
stuff.
would expect
That would be a
sidekick
really
to
bad
have.
time. Just pretend there's Family. Pretend. Hold on. Let's get something Family Guy-esque. Family Guy-esque. Hold on. Where did my mouse go? My mouse is gone, dude. My mouse is gone. My mouse is gone. Help! It's back. Okay. That always freaks me out when I can't see my mouse. Okay. Copyright free Family Guy song. Yeah, let's see how that works. Family Guy free sample lady? What? That's like a clip. Copyright free sitcom music.
Bigman
That'll
Tucker
do it.
29 says it seems today that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV.
And coming in today on Crunchy Guy.
Jesse 1550 says, but where are those good old-fashioned values on which we used to rely?
Joe! Hey, Peter. And Tucker as... Who are you, Tucker? Jesse as Herbert. Tucker, you said Lois. You said Lois. Tucker as Lois. Uber as Chris. I just designated your character because you didn't pick one. I gave you like half an hour to pick one. Hannah as Peter. Awesome. That was some cool Family Guy roleplay night, guys.
Pretty mean to just be like, he looks like a sidekick.
Did you like that?
You're a sidekick, Keith. You look just like
yeah,
a
there's so much
sidekick.
pressure to be here.
Really? I'm Keith.
Forgot Chris because he didn't pick anyone.
Troy. They look over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of
Fair
lard.
enough, he says.
That's not a quote. That's the story calling him a tub
Uber
of
is our
lard.
son.
That's a legitimate quote.
Yeah.
From the story.
I'm Herbert, Uber is Chris. Oh no!
The narrator had to be like,
I
this
didn't think
kid
of that.
was fat.
Well, read the next line.
This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. Why is the narrator telling us
That's
that?
crazy. Why are they roasting this kid?
That's
I'm really
so
going to put
mean.
into emphasis how fat this child is. Child obesity is such a problem in this country.
He had
You know
to
that?
write
it would've been so good if it
character
went
to
in.
Explain to
I would've
the
nutted.
audience how fat this person was.
He's large. So large.
And I,
So
the
large.
first kid, am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood,
Get outta
there's a
here. I
small
think if you're
prize for
gonna-
bus fare if you catch my drift. This 12-year-old's running a racketeering scam. If you catch my drift.
Hey, Lois.
Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes, when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. Bro, what? No.
Exactly.
Dude, wait,
Yes.
dude, I think I just remembered where this is going. This story's
Oh, yes.
insane. When I read this at like 11 years old, this all made sense. I'm like, yeah, this is a clear,
Yeah.
this is clearly a viable like story. This could happen, but oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hitting every possible cliche.
It made sense back then, guys.
It's trying to be 7 different stories. So far, it's trying to be. It's basically like
we messed up raising him, didn't we?
Jason
Definitely.
Statham action sequence, and now it's veering its way into like.
Oh gosh, you guys are still role playing.
Is what it feels like. Like the
Hello,
weird like
yes.
bullies who had like,
Yes, Peter.
like speak easy like 1950s doo-wop haircuts and knives.
Doo-wop.
And skateboards.
Boo-wop.
Yep.
And they're like,
Yep.
tisk, tisk, tisk. You know what I mean? Like, it's
they
unbelievable.
literally pull a knife on another child. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Which also, what child did you ever know growing up who had like a butterfly knife? what child at all did you know growing up threatened somebody with a knife that wasn't born in 1933? I have to know.
I'll give you this. From East Tennessee, I knew a lot of kids had knives, like, because we thought it was cool. I was never in a knife fight. I never knew someone my age who got into a knife fight.
That's true.
That doesn't happen that much.
You got dunked 8 times.
I guess
so.
it could just be like a random little pocket knife. I just always imagine like the one that you click like the butterfly knife, or like the one you like click it and it like slips out.
Yeah, it's like a stiletto knife.
Yeah, exactly. A stiletto, exactly. Like one of those where it's just like, don't be screaming to nobody.
You'll be
Fail RP.
with the fishes.
You'll be sleeping
I'm about
with
to
the
murder
fishes.
my. Okay, cool.
When I dice you up with
Awesome.
my little knife.
I'm literally hiding
a
in the
child.
bush with binoculars looking
no,
to
he's
Chris's
12 years
room.
old
That's
yet, man.
awesome. I'm
Okay,
good.
alright.
Okay.
Does not have any hairs on his balls. He is just a prepubescent child, probably.
So he has to be like, hey, I'm gonna cut you with my knife.
You
Dude,
sound like Mickey Mouse.
please.
Like Mickey
It
Mouse.
is Mickey Mouse. Every prepubescent boy sounds like Mickey Mouse. I digress. Go ahead.
So after he pulls a knife, he says,
Please give me one
Tisk,
dunk.
tisk,
I need
tisk.
8.
I had hoped you would be more
Stop
cooperative."
fouling me.
Okay.
Yep.
all right.
Yep.
We're gonna be here all day if I don't power through, but oh my
yeah,
god.
we're gonna have to just power through.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. I was hoping you'd be like he's a Sith Lord, like he's Darth Vader. I hoped you'd
Have
be
fun, head. I can't enjoy it.
Jedi.
I don't really think Luis would
It's like
goon with
Marlon
Chris
Brando.
Tucker. Yeah, fail RP. Fail RP.
all right.
Yeah, Marlon Brando like
Lois.
Christopher Lee.
Lois. I wasn't looking at my screen.
Okay,
I don't really
alright.
care. I don't need to win. I
But
just
it
need to
seems
dunk
we
8
must do
times.
this
So
the
I'm
hard
just kind of
way.
chilling.
The
Go
kid
Zion,
walked
get
up
him.
to Lou and took his wallet.
Zion's
out of
got
his
a really good
pocket.
defender, whoever
Jeff
it may
got
be right
that
now.
feeling again. There's that feeling.
Mhm.
Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation.
I'm gonna dunk on this
Kinda
little bro.
like, you know,
Oh, just kidding.
syphilis.
Hey,
He
get off of
stood
me.
up, but Lou gestured him to sit
Jump
down.
ball? Are you kidding me, bro?
Jeff ignored him and walked
This
up
team
to the
is
kid.
being
Listen here, you
ridiculous.
little punk. Give back
Kills
my
Jesse.
bro's
No.
Give back my bro's wallet or else.
I'm tempted, but no.
Randy put the wallet in his
I don't need
pocket
to.
and pulled out his own knife. Wait, I thought Randy was holding a knife. Oh, wasn't it
Give
did
me
one
that.
of the other kids have
Screw
a knife?
you.
I think it was the other kids
Okay,
had
all right.
pulled it out.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. There's multiple.
Dunk.
fat one or the
For the love
skinny
of
one.
God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You were right there.
The
You're
sidekick
Zion
with the tug of
Williamson.
lard is the story called them. Yeah.
It's true.
Don't
The
lay up.
face,
What are you
sidekick,
thinking?
genetic abomination, or the tub of lord.
Yeah, you're correct.
This reminds me of the time I saw Chris kill
so Randy
Herbert.
pulls
Oh,
out
it's
his own
dis-
knife.
Hey, this reminds me of the
and
time I
what
saw
would you
Jesse
do?
in
Just
the
as he
chat
finished
get
the
banned.
sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. What the
There's one.
Randy screamed, and Jeff grabbed
Literally
the knife
dies,
from
but in the
his
same
hand.
cold.
Troy and Keith
Wait.
rushed Jeff,
But this
Jeff
time
was
in the
too
cutaway. Oh,
quick.
okay.
He threw Randy to the ground.
Cuts to Chris brutally
Keith
bashing
lashed
Herbert's
out
skull.
at him,
Oh,
and Jeff
okay.
ducked and
That's
stabbed him
awesome.
in
I'm
the
glad we're having
arm.
good Family Guy roleplay
Keith
tonight,
dropped
chat.
his knife and fell to the ground screaming.
glad.
Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't
Dude,
even
I'm
need
getting
the knife.
bullied.
He
I'm just gonna
punched
foul you.
Troy straight
Come
in
here.
the stomach, and Troy went
Get
down.
on.
As he fell, he puked
How do you
all
like
over.
it?
Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. What the?
Once again, another amazing
We're
concrete.
scripting a
action
real episode
sequence
right now?
of
Yeah,
Jeff,
this is real.
The 13-year-old.
Remember that time
getting
Chris killed
business
Herbert?
Done.
Ah,
Basically.
He's
I
dodging
guess it's the
punches,
first time.
stabbing people like what the?
With a rock?
This is a
Nice
this
one,
is
Chris.
Also supposed to be. This is also once again we quote a fancy neighborhood, and yet there's all these rapscallion hooligans going on, like a 1950s.
This team is the
like,
definition of
street warfare happening for some reason.
There's a
The
strong class
fan
system in
suckage
this
service
neighborhood.
is
The children
insane.
are left to the animals. That's
They are. It is a literal Lord of Flies situation going on in this neighborhood. But they seeing the bus coming, the Jeff and Lou, the brothers, they They know that they're going to be blamed for the assault on these people. Which,
Zion is way too slow.
that
Oh my
is
gosh,
their
and he just got
problem.
stolen from.
There's
Give me
good
that.
justification of like 3 people
I
pulled
mean,
knives
yeah,
on
if
us,
someone
but
pulls a
whatever.
knife on you, I guess it's.
No,
time
I don't
to
need to
become
win.
a
I just
work,
need
but you're
dunks. I'm
also
not going to
flawed.
They
restart.
didn't know that they were getting
I
ready
don't
to
care.
stab Jason Bourne, but still. They didn't
Peter,
know
why
that
do you
they
have
were-
a knife in your
So
hand?
they
Peter,
decided to run away.
why do you have a
Definitely
knife in your
decided to run
hands?
away, only looking back to see the bus driver
Lois,
turn
I'm gonna
to Randy
stab
on the ground.
15
The
children.
brothers went to school and didn't tell anybody what happened.
Peter, who you
And,
message on your phone?
This is
Lois, I'm a
another
Minecraft
excerpt from the
YouTuber.
story. It says,
Children.
All they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought
Sorry.
of that his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary.
Okay.
As he got that feeling, he felt.
Shoot it.
Oh my God, here we
Shoot
go,
it.
Lord, dude. As
Shoot
he
it.
got that feeling, he felt how
felt.
powerful it was.
Thank you.
He got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was. The urge just.
That's true,
to
Uber. Me
hurt
too.
someone. He
Who
didn't
doesn't?
like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school.
Okay. I don't know why everyone's grouped
even
up
as he
here.
walked home due to the whole thing near
Here's
the
a
bus
challenge.
stop.
Make 8 dunks on this
Wait, what?
team.
Even as he
As he
walked
walked
home.
Oh,
due
what
to
is
the
their
whole
specialty?
thing near the bus
Not
stop.
letting you dunk.
bus stop.
LOL. Have
And
fun.
Now he
What?
probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore. Basically, even as he like
Could've
walked
strangled
home and how he
someone,
wouldn't
that
be
was a
taking the
dunk.
bus
Even though
anymore,
he's
he
even
felt
though he
fouled
realizes
me.
he can't use the bus anymore. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a good lord. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day."
Okay, hold
We're
on.
getting once again, we're getting some very incel energy now.
Yeah,
This is,
yeah.
like I said,
For sure. But also,
It is very.
th-
Just because
there's
it's always
no-
been very
like
incel-esque.
he used the kids pulling a knife on him.
Hello,
as an
I'm Lois
excuse to
Griffin.
hurt
I'm
them.
married to Peter Griffin
He
from
already
the
had
TV
that
show.
feeling, as the
That's
story
awesome.
made clear before that happened.
For the people in my
So
TFT Discord
Jeff
are talking about
wants
eating
to hurt
Play-Doh
people because he
glue
moved
and
to a
cat
nice
food.
neighborhood.
What?
Jeff moving
Dude,
to
what?
a nice neighborhood was probably the worst thing that could have ever happened to him.
He needs to kill people now, according to him.
Yeah, apparently now this feeling.
Dude,
the
I'm being
feeling
bullied.
that we're
I'm being
feeling, the
bullied
feeling that we
by
felt
an
before that we
AI
felt,
team
and we're feeling now that we felt that we
because
feel.
the fan service is crazy.
Jeff is Jeff basically being like,
You
I
would be a
feel like I
TF2
want to
server.
hurt someone. Which once again,
I was thinking
only
the same
adds
thing.
narrative that does this not sound like some 4chan incel
It does.
school shooter vibes.
Yeah, yeah.
You have almost
I mean,
4K
it's
hours.
becoming more and
Dang,
more
bro.
clear. So I was like, okay, well, where are we going?
I
with
could
this?
I could
Which
easily
the next
score on these
morning,
guys and win, but I have to
officers
make
show up
8
at Jeff's house,
dunks on a
wanting to
team
speak with him
specifically
about the assault
good about
on
doing
Randy, which is just
steals
funny. I
and
like how they,
give
I
me
love
that
it's
freaking
assault
ball.
on Randy.
Get off of me.
You hurt
You are a
Randy.
pest. You are a nuisance.
He's 12 and he
Get
has a
off
stable.
of me.
Jeff, come on. Jeff tries
Stop.
to explain that Randy was the one who pulled the knives on them.
I've
but
never had a
with the
team
injuries,
randomly
Jeff
foul
looked,
me this much.
but
They
with
just
the-
keep
all of
doing
the
it, dude.
injuries that Randy, the
Like,
fat
leave
tub
me
of
alone.
shit, and,
Let me do the
skinny
challenge.
guy had,
You stupid
Jeff
AI.
looked like a complete monster. He looked too guilty. So Jeff confesses to the crime.
Not doing it.
In which this is funny. I do like that this is also a direct quote. The officer literally says
I don't want
after
the, I don't
Jeff's
want
like,
the
yeah, I get
3000
it.
MP that bad. I do. We're
The
gonna do it
officer
one more
says,
time.
"Well,
One more
kid,
try.
Looks like a year in juvie. What kind of response? Well, kid.
Looks like a year in juvie.
Looks like you got a year in juvie coming your way.
You know what? You know what? That actually further backs
Get 'em,
up your theory
boys.
that this was written by like a kid or like
telling
preteen,
you.
high school, whatever.
It has to
See
be.
my arc
'cause
hours,
only
Uber? Oh,
they
yeah.
would think that like the way it works is a cop shows up, and it's like you stabbed this kid. Well, I'll put you in juvie a year. Come on. Like,
All right. Direct to juvie with you, son.
Yep. Yep.
Looks like one exact year of juvie coming your way.
All right.
That's the bill.
So exactly, it's like yeah, and I
Get
just
dunked
decided
on,
that
bro.
right now, and that's how it's gonna work. You're coming with me.
I am the judge and the executioner. You're gonna be put to death, Jeff.
The author has never even heard of a courtroom.
Yeah, no, they think that that's a made-up place for TV shows.
And also the idea that
So your PC probably smells like
if
old farts and
if
sweat.
the
Arc is
court
cool,
finds
dude.
that you maliciously
That's
stabbed
awesome,
another
Tucker.
child,
Good. I
you're
like
just
that
like 1
comparison.
year.
You're probably right.
One
Dude,
exact year.
Come here.
Yeah,
I'm going to touch you in
To
the
you,
butt
Jeff,
right now.
the man with feelings. Who you felt. Jeff, are you feeling those feelings now? Maybe.
Great. So I
you
have to hold
felt
down
them
left
when
trigger
you
the
feel
entire
them?
time I'm playing.
Have you felt them when
Fun.
you feel them, and you felt them when you felt field?
Go ahead and steal from me. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, hold on.
I'm holding left trigger. Go ahead.
Yeah, read this next part. This is so good.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm
I dare
looking
you.
at this text document right now. Okay, so cop's like, well, looks like you're going to jail for a year. And then it says, Lou interjects at the top of the stairs holding a knife, in which all the officers
I'm just gonna
immediately
score on
pull
you.
out their guns and pointed at the child holding a kitchen knife. Oh my gosh.
Some
Lou
real
confesses
BS, man.
for the crime to save Jeff, and everyone just believes
Yeah, thanks
him,
Tucker
even
for quoting
though
me on that. Yeah,
wouldn't Randy
I need that in my
tell
digital
them who
footprint.
did it?
Get off of me, dude. Get off of
But
me.
at the end, Jeff's mother consoles Jeff by saying, quote, "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie.
Stop
We
picking
know
Zion
it's
to throw
Lou.
to."
You can stop." Bro, okay. So the cops, Randy's like, "Hey, I got
Cool.
stabbed by this kid who's a year older than me." And the cops go to his house, and then they're like, "Well, you're going to jail for a year." But then an unrelated child is like, "Actually, I did it." And the cop's like, "Works for me." So he throws that kid.
Literally.
He just throws
Yeah, like
that
he-
kid.
he-
in
Yeah,
the
that's how that
car.
works.
And then the mom's like, "Yeah, I mean, sure, it's still my son."
The
but
top
who
3
cares?
games
Like, get
combined
over
are
it.
It's insane to me. that they sit there and they're like,
764
yes.
hours. Dang,
Like a
dude,
kid's
that's
just
a
like
lot of
holding a
hours.
knife. Basically,
I don't think I've ever
essentially,
played that
like
much
a-
video
what,
game in my
12
life.
Like 11 or 12-year-old, because I think Lou is younger than Jeff. So he's sitting at the top of the steps with a knife.
And I'm a streamer.
And then all the cops
So let that
immediately
sink
pull
in.
a gun out on him. Like, I mean, like 3 cops pull a gun. They're like, "Drop the knife, Lou." And he's like, "I did it. I did the crime." And they're like, "All right, we believe you." And when I was reading it, I was like, why wouldn't
Good
Randy
dunk.
just be like, "No, that's not. It's the other guy.
Mine are only like 1.5K.
That's not the kid who beat the shit out of me
Isn't
and
Lou
stabbed all
the
of us."
younger brother too?
Yeah, exactly.
Go.
So now it's like a 9-year-old
Go.
like decked out these 3 older
Exactly.
Oh, brother.
kids.
This team? Oh,
And they're
brother.
like, "All right, fine. A year for you, 9-year-old boy in juvie."
Get out of here. Get off of me. I'm stealing.
That's how the law works.
Stealing
I'm
the ball.
sorry, I've got to do it.
I love how.
Jokic,
I
why
love
was
how
your
his
plan?
Mom, Margaret.
I did not tell
is
him to do
just
that,
So, like,
by the way.
She just
He just got knocked
it's
over
so
because
funny
he
how
tried to do the
dumb
crotch
they write
guard
her. Like, she's
special.
just like, "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop." What kind of sentence? What kind of human sentence is that? It feels like
Yeah,
Margaret.
you
Bot
personally
came up.
fouled
It's
me,
like
my
she's like
friend.
some kind
That's
of
what just
robot.
happened.
She's like, "Jeff, please, you don't have to
Good.
lie.
I'm glad.
We know it's Lou. You can stop. What would you like for dinner, son?" But Jeff, he's riddled with
Oh,
guilt
brother.
now. You know, his brother's taking the blame for feeling alone in this new town. And a couple of days pass, and it's Saturday. Only a couple days.
Give me
right?
this, please.
Since-
Thank you.
Like, and put that into context.
Tucker,
A
why'd you
couple
just
days
DM
have
me?
passed since
What are your top
the
3
mom
games?
and
Ooh,
the
that's a
family
great
have
question.
found out that their son
He's asking
stabbed
Uber,
and beat
though.
a man to death.
Why'd you say?
Jeff has been this depressed sack of
One
shit,
Piece
staying up
penis,
in his
awesome.
room, feeling all depressed, whatever. Guns were
Can we
pulled
get
on your
much
child who was
higher?
holding a knife like a complete fucking psychopath. And all of a
So
sudden, Jeff
high.
is woken up by his mother to let him know that, hey, we have to remember Billy? We need to
Oh.
get ready for Billy's birthday party. Barbara, you know, remember? Her son? We're going to the birthday party. And that's when I just wanted to read this excerpt because this is really funny. This is a long blurb from it, but it's a very funny back and forth. So I wanted to read this. It's
Cool, I got this guy
Jeff,
off Zion.
It's the day.
That's actually big.
She said as she opened up the curtains and let the light flood in the room. What?
Score
What's
on him.
today? Asked
Don't
Jeff
care.
as he stirs awake.
Get on.
Why? It's Billy's party.
Did Tucker also
He was
send you
now
guys
fully
wiener
awake.
pics or just me?
Mom,
No, me too.
You're joking,
Me too.
right?
Terraria,
You don't
good game,
expect me
true.
to go to some kid's party after. There was a long pause. There's a lot of also long pauses. It's very anime. I've noticed. A lot of it's like, you don't
Challenge
expect me
that.
to go to some kid's party after. Jeff, we both know what
Oh,
happened.
he didn't even let me see a replay. He
I
just
think
said
this
confirmed
party
and
would be
walked
a
off.
good thing
That's
that
awesome.
brightens up the past days.
That's so cool.
Now,
Oh, it's
picture
overturned? Oh, W.
Jeff's mother
He
walked
gave
out
me
of
it.
the
Yeah,
room and
yeah.
went
We don't need
downstairs to
proof.
get ready
Thank you.
herself.
Appreciate it.
He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why would they be wearing, why would they ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party?
Brother.
Son, is that all you're going to wear? Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hit it with a smile.
What?
Okay.
Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room.
This is
I
the worst
don't
challenge
have
of all
any
time.
fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs. Just pick out something, called his mother. He looked
Uber,
around
I
his
played
closet for
Mordekaiser
what he,
Jungle.
would call fancy.
You played
He found
Mordekaiser
a pair
Jungle,
of
not
black dress
top?
pants he had for special occasions and undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with
Bro,
it.
I played in a
He
Fury
looked around and
mid.
found some striped and patterned shirts.
Top,
none
I would
of which,
recommend a
go with
Lowy.
dress pants.
But
Finally,
Jungle?
He found a white hoodie and put it
Jungle?
on.
Mord?
You're wearing
That's
that, they both
interesting.
said. His
That's a
mother
lie?
looked at,
Oh.
her watch.
Okay.
Oh, no time to change. Let's go. She just, she said, She said as she
Get out of here.
herded
I
Jeff
just
and his father out the
crapped
door,
on him.
they crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. Now, I quoted all this because, one, what a completely inhuman interaction
Get
to
out of here.
have. And then, two, here's a couple things.
I wanted to dunk.
Why he said
Call
something
timeout.
up here
No,
where I
no,
was like,
don't
okay.
do that.
We get
Call
this
timeout.
dialogue of him saying he picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked down
Let's
the
put on
stairs.
just a bunch
He
of
saw his mother and
dunkers.
father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why would they why they would ever wear such a fancy clothes to a kid's party? So I thought, oh, okay, is this going to set up some kind of weird like orientation thing?
Yeah.
Something of like I don't know, something devious or whatever.
A
Where it's like
reason
something
for the
fancier that
parents
he's-
to wear fancy clothes to a kid's
to wear
birthday
and then to
party.
also be mad that he's not wearing because
Right.
he essentially puts on a shirt and jeans. That's not the worst outfit for a child's birthday party.
Yeah. That's like what are they doing at the child's party? Like talking about the stock market? They're gonna play around in the yard. Like,
Yeah, and you would think that it's setting up something to be more than what it is. And then there's also like this rushed aspect of her being like, "There's no time, we have to go." They live next door.
and it's a child's birthday party. It's not
It's a
hard
child's birthday
deadline,
party
yeah.
next door.
Also,
so odd.
Also, who on earth like?
Should be good. These
Okay,
guys
so
are
it's
all
a child's
dunk.
birthday party, right? And the parents are going for some reason. But this is the same woman who, when she found out her even younger son was responsible for his stabbing, was just like, Jeff, clearly your younger brother. Like, the cop said he's going to jail for a year. So let's stop thinking about that and let's wear our ball gown.
One more timeout.
to
I want to
this
put
other
Jokic and
child's
AD.
birthday party
Let's play dress up as if we're going to prom and go to this young person's birthday party. Which also, that's a funny thing of like, we know that you're upset that your brother is a psychopath, Jeff. All right, we get it, but we have to go make an impression with the neighbors.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you need that? And then also, how
There we go.
would the neighbors not be like, hey, by the way, you guys aren't invited anymore since your kids are fucking
Yeah,
psychopaths?
yeah.
But no, they're just like, hey, please come over. Be alone with
Please!
my children. I really want you to be alone with my children, Jeff. I know that you're manic, and this happened 3 days ago, but please be alone with her. And
one kid,
the weird thing,
they're in the neighborhood for one day.
Being
and the
fouled
kid
every
gets
5
stabbed.
seconds. No
Like,
call.
literally,
You should
one
not
day,
invite them over. That's so weird.
one day, and Jeff stabs the kids and breaks their wrist with ease, mind you, with ease. To break someone's bones, I feel like would be relative. I mean, I have never done it, but I have to imagine
It's got to
it
be
would-
pretty
you-
tough. Yeah.
You'd have to have some
What is this
kind
guy's
of
release,
godlike
bro?
force to just do, especially as a child.
Well,
it would
hey,
have to be.
Hunter, he had a feeling.
The feeling was
Sad.
felt and
Combination of
reciprocated.
3K
He felt the
hours.
feeling.
Clearly, that
That
is
is
Only
true.
3K is insane. A lot of people actually have a life and go outside,
they go
Jesse.
over to
I
the
probably
party.
have about that much.
And Jeff notices
Total,
that at
and
the
like
party,
all video games I've
all
ever
of the
played.
adults are inside and the kids are outside. Barbara tells Jeff
that
to
is
go
also
outside and play with the
AFK.
kids,
Some
which
people
at
actually go
first
outside.
He doesn't he doesn't like being out there hanging out with them, but he almost immediately says he has a fun time when he, quote, pretends to shoot
Stop
kids.
fouling me.
Because it was the first time he hadn't thought about his brother in juvie, which I thought was very funny. He
Nothing
was like,
takes
at first
my
it was
mind
really
off
annoying.
my brother in juvie like killing
Yeah, bang.
children.
Bang, bang, you're dead, bang. Once again, does that not read like a school shooter?
Why are they triple guarding
does how are we not prepping up that this is a school shooter thing? I was like, okay, I feel like I'm
Please
kind of
God.
reading this from a mile
That's a
away.
foul.
Sure.
Please.
But no.
I don't want the
You
foul.
know,
I just
but-
want the
and
dunks.
then
I just
you think that it's going
please
somewhere,
stop.
and then once again you
It's
have the
a
weird
AI challenge. Please just
weird crossover
why?
with like the importance of being in a dress-up situation, which that goes nowhere. You go outside, and then he's like, "Oh, I feel good about, fake
Fouling
killing
you.
these kids. Yeah, I'm having fun. I'm not thinking about my brother in jail anymore." You're like, okay, so this is probably going to be
Probably
him,
are better
I
about not
guess,
leaving your stuff on
not
all
able
day.
to control that crazy feeling, right?
Boy, I sure do love
maybe that's
killing.
Dunk.
God, I love
Thank
killing.
God.
That's the
How many
feeling.
more do I need?
love killing, and you're like, okay,
4
that
more.
makes sense.
Oh.
But no, it doesn't go anywhere from there.
God,
Instead,
just shoot it. Just shoot it. Just shoot
suddenly
it.
at this party, right, this backyard party, Randy, the kid who pulled the knife and had the skateboard, all him, Randy and his fat friend and the skinny guy hop over the fence at the party, and all hell is about to break loose. Which I was going to say,
Of
if you want
course.
to take this part, you
I'll
can.
take
but this is
part. I also want to
this
clarify.
is a big one.
For listeners. They're probably listening to this and thinking like, "What? Where did that come from?" Like he's talking about shooting kids.
I'm telling you.
And then it just says they show up. This is verbatim.
This is
a
the
quote.
legitimate flow.
Yeah,
of this
I'm
story.
going to read
Yeah.
the sentence right there. It says, "So he played with the kids for a while until he heard a noise, a weird
Please,
rolling
God.
noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Like, just it goes from just like him fantasizing shooting children to the gang's here. We gotta get out of here.
Dunk,
the 1950s clan is here to
Crunch, how do you have 84 hours in Terraria and only 60 out of 115 achievements?
But we never hear from
I beat
Which
Terraria
I
on
can hear his
mobile
perspective, but
when I was younger.
So what?
I did
suddenly
not
Randy
beat
and his
it
goons hop over the fence, and all hell's about to break.
on computer.
And it says,
Bigman
"Hello,
Tucker 29
Jeff,
says this
is it?"
podcast
He
is
said,
so weird I'm
"We
listening
have
but
some
not listening to
unfinished
what they are
business."
saying.
Yeah.
Anime.
We're doing the same thing.
So anime.
Jeff saw his bruised nose. I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you got my brother sent
dunk,
to
bro.
JDC. This does feel like an anime. Like,
I'm telling you. I think we're even. I beat the
This is
crap
like
out of you, and you got my brother sent to
My Hero
JDC.
Academia lore.
they're making those weird like moaning noise to themselves as the others talking.
Hello, Jeff, is it? He said, and he pushes up his glasses or whatever with his pinky, and he's like, "We have some unfinished business."
Screw you.
All right. Randy got a.
Just
Randy
whatever.
got an
I don't
angry
care.
look
Just
in
let me
his
get my
eyes.
donks.
Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. Oh gosh.
Oh,
good lord.
What a
all right, hold on. I have to lean into it.
what a line.
Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today.
Give me the dog!
I just caught what you were doing. They're like,
He's literally going, and then they just foul you. They all dogpile on you. They just jump on you.
Okay,
Like they're actually gonna foul
I'll
out.
do the narration, but if it gets to a
Oh, and he
Jeff
gets a
line,
free throw.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
As he said that, Randy
Whatever. I
rushed
don't
at
care.
Jeff.
It doesn't matter how
They
many points they
both fell
score
to
as
the
long as I
ground.
get 8 dunks. I
Randy
just need 8
punched
dunks.
Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted
It's
him.
ridiculous.
Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and both.
Sometimes
broke to
things in
their
2K are just ridiculous,
Kids were
Jazz.
screaming, and parents were running out of the
How is that
house.
your ball?
Troy
That's my
and
ball.
Keith both pulled
Challenge.
guns out of their pockets.
You threw it. I watched him. Did you guys?
Both pulled guns out of their pockets on the parents.
I don't know if you guys saw
Okay.
this. He picked up the ball and threw it out of bounds, and then they get the ball back. No, that's not how that works.
Jesse 1550 says
Randy
no,
pulled
I
a
don't
knife
go
on
for
Jeff
even, I
and
go for winning.
stabbed it
I don't go
into
for
his
even.
shoulder.
I go for
Jeff
winning.
screamed and fell to his
Dead
knees.
on.
Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks,
Show me the
Jeff
review.
grabs his foot and twists it.
Confirmed.
causing Randy
Okay,
to fall to
they
the
get the
ground.
ball back when they
Jeff
threw
stood
it
up and walked
in
towards
out
the
of
back
bounds.
door. Troy grabbed him. Need some help?
Right.
He picks Jeff up by the back. It's literally the fight thing, like going
Uber Tree
somewhere.
says show me your balls.
Exactly.
He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he's kicked down to the ground.
Yeah,
Randy
is he?
repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts coughing up blood.
Send me your own.
Come on, Jeff! Fight me! He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head.
It's a 12-year-old. This is a 12-year-old, by the way.
Awesome.
This is a 12-year-old. This is a gang of a posse of 12-year-olds doing this. Just want to put the
They've got guns aimed at the parents right now.
They have
Don,
12-year-olds have
why did you not
guns
dunk?
at gunpoint.
I just don't understand
Keeping everybody
how I'm
hostage,
supposed to get
basically,
this.
while
I
this
have
fight is
Zion
In
Williams
a,
Galaxy
quote,
Opal,
nice neighborhood.
and he won't dunk.
In
And
a-
if he
in a
tries, he gets
quote-unquote
fouled and pushed over
fancy
like
and
he's
nice
a twig.
neighborhood.
Okay, so he smashes vodka over
You're
Jeff's
getting my
head and
mellow
goes,
on. I'm sorry.
Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff! Look at me! Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your...
Just shoot it.
I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC. And
No.
now you're just gonna sit there and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Jeff starts to get up. Oh, finally. You stand and
Dunk,
fight.
dunk, dunk.
Oh, finally. You stand and fight. Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face.
They're going
Once
to foul
again,
out
he gets
eventually,
that
and then I'll have that going
strange
for me.
feeling.
At least I'll go
He
against their
gets
bench.
He gets-
I got a feeling.
Oh my gosh.
You should let VIP send links in chat for real.
Once again, he gets that
then I'd have to take
strange
away your
feeling,
VIP.
The one in which he hasn't felt for a while. I thought he was feeling it that day. Or okay,
He's
what?
felt it.
Should ban all his VIPs.
Through the whole story. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Finally, he's up. Says in my head, Randy sounds like Vegeta. Like
finally,
he's up.
Yeah. Finally, he's up. Says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside.
So I keep
Jeff
doing that.
snaps.
That's my special move.
His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he
Please
can
just
do
dunk someone,
is kill.
anyone.
He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground.
Don't even try to send
He
links
gets on
unless
top of
making a
him
joke,
punches
and they
him
aren't even
straight in
real
the heart.
links.
What?
Yeah, but you don't know that.
Whoa!
Jesse, the next time you put
The punch
sex.com,
causes Randy's
it's going to be a
heart to
real link
stop?
and someone's going to
No,
click it.
no
And guess who's held
way.
responsible for that? Me.
This 13-year-old
Get outta
just
here.
punched a 12-year-old's heart and
Kill!
killed him.
Punches him in the chest.
Get out of
He
here,
one
dude.
punched him. What the heck?
Gives him the fucking 5-finger death punch from Kill Bill.
Can't send links in the chat, guys. It doesn't work.
13-year-old ever.
I think Tucker just
He
tried to type
literally
out
punched
sex.com.
I was joking about this.
Nice
being
one,
like a
Tucker.
Dragon
Good,
Ball
good,
fight.
good joke.
This
Good
is
prank. Good
actually
prank.
a
I'm
Dragon
telling you,
Ball
yeah.
Pretty sure
fight.
myballs.net isn't
Like,
a real
he's on
website,
the
but I
ground
don't know.
doing a kick,
See, the
gets
problem
the
is you
scene
don't
with the
know,
camera zooming
and
in,
you would
like,
still
come on,
type that
you
in,
can hear,
wouldn't you?
like the guitar, and he's like powering up.
Dunk. Thank God. AD, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
3 more.
The
Every
punch
single one is a
causes
fight to
Randy's
the
heart
death.
Stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers
AD
down
might be
on
my
him.
guy
I thought
right
he was
now.
already dead. Punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's
Whatever.
body until he takes one
Put
final
it up and it's not a
breath
real
and
website.
dies.
Well, I don't care.
Punched a child to death. He's also a
He
child.
punched a
Crunch.
He
Okay.
punched a 13-year-old child, punches a 12-year-old child to death. He punches him so hard in the chest.
Holy
that
crap, is that Mark
Randy
Cuban?
is
I'm just kidding,
unable
that's
to
not him.
breathe anymore.
That's my
Mind
coach.
you, while this is happening,
I know. That's
his
their coach.
friends are like pointing guns at him. And like
I don't know what came
everybody at the
over
party,
me.
even the
Me
adults
eating
are
Doito
watching
of
this. Nobody
depression.
is breaking up these infants.
No, Tucker, don't.
Like tussling.
Yeah,
Ain't no way he
You know
makes
what I
it
mean?
over
Not
my
one person.
center.
Not
I
one person
understand
is
that there's
intervening.
guns involved, but there's like 40-year-old
Ridiculous
men
fan
watching this,
service
like,
right
if
now.
only I could do something.
Yeah, like their hands.
Hey,
especially 'cause
Nikola
now I'm
Jokic,
picturing it like an
have you
old-timey
considered
bank
dunking
robbing
with
thing.
your big
Their hands
hands
are up and they're like,
and tall stature?
Don't shoot us,
I think you
Mr.
should.
12-year-old. You kid, the fat kids eating all of Billy's birthday cake. I'm fat. I'm the fat one.
The fat and skinny kid are wearing like pinstripe suits.
Yeah, with like the little like.
AD
eye
is my
cuffling,
hope, but
like,
there were too many
burglar
people on
old-timey
right there.
burglar deals.
Yeah.
Stop trying to steal from me. You're
Give
not
us
gonna
all
get
your
it.
sweets and all your candy.
Which everyone looks at Jeff,
Stop.
the parents and the children, and even Randy's goon friends,
Whatever.
Troy and Keith.
Goon friends.
proceed to-
You
Yeah, I
fouled
like to
me
say
very
goon friend.
clearly.
Which Troy and Keith
Timberwolves
proceed to
ball.
shoot at Jeff in the small house, and they miss every shot. All right.
Bigman Tucker
And Jeff runs
29
away
says
until he gets
opinion
into
on
the
apples. I
bathroom,
really
in
like
which he
apples. I
rips
eat
a
at
towel
least one
rack
apple
off the
every day
wall,
to keep being
and,
healthy and
Troy
because
Keith
apples
make
are
their way
really
up there,
tasty.
They fire some more shots, miss again, and basically Jeff just beats Troy's face in until Troy is like, I don't know if he's lifeless, but he falls to the ground hard. And immediately Heath grabs and like starts choking Jeff, and he pushes Jeff into a wall, in which a container of bleach plops over, and it starts covering.
See, look at what
Jeff's
just happened
face
there,
and
chat.
body. Jeff takes the towel rack, beats the living hell out of Keith until Keith is basically dying on the floor, and Keith,
So-
as he's laying there dying, cracks a big smile, and Jeff says,
Last time I
"What's
checked,
so funny?" Keith pulled out a lighter and switched
making a
on.
lot of contact
"Let's
with me.
study," he said.
In fact,
"Is
it
that
looks
your
like he
covered in
slammed
bleach
right
and
into me.
alcohol?" Jeff's eyes widened, and Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin.
It's like
The
he's, like,
bleach
bumping
bleached his
right
skin.
into me.
Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried
Right
to roll
there.
out. He tried to roll
Huh.
out of the fire.
No
but it
foul.
was no use.
And they get the
The
ball.
alcohol had made him. The alcohol had made him a.
They're playing against
walking
real people,
inferno.
Crunch? No, that's
He
what's
ran
the
down
worst
hall
part about
and
this that's
fell down
pissing
the
me off.
stairs. Everybody started screaming.
If it was a
as
real
they saw
person, I
Jeff,
wouldn't be mad.
now
I'd
a
just be
man
like,
on
hey,
fire,
you know, you're
dropped
better.
to the ground, nearly dead.
This is
The
just a
last thing Jeff
robot,
saw was his
and
mother
it's just
and the
being
other
like
parents
the
trying to
worst.
extinguish the flame.
It's just on
That's
demon
when
mode.
he passed out.
Pissing me off. It's like when you have to go
So
against Matt in
basically,
Wii Sports, dude.
Jeff gets fucking lit on fire like a goddamn you know, fireball, rolls downstairs. No
My favorite
one,
apple was one I ate
tries to
yesterday. It was
pat him
nice
out.
and
They
red
are
and yummy. That's
watching
awesome.
This child, like, rolling on the ground. They're just like, oh my God. Jeff, you're on fire. Like,
They're all wearing their like evening ballroom gowns and stuff.
Yeah,
end
they're,
my
they're
life. I'm
great
gonna end my
Gatsby
life.
party outfits for some reason.
I'm gonna
They're
end
all
my
probably
life.
fucking smashed. First
I'm
off, that's
happy,
like
the
one thing I
bringer
was
of
like,
good news. Hi,
they're
Ismail.
trying
What
to
is your good
totally
news?
vodka thing.
I could use
Is
some
that
right now.
Everybody at the party's like, no way.
Dunk.
Someone help.
They almost
and they're
fouled me.
all
I'm
just
holding this.
trash.
I'm getting a foul for this.
Oh, you'd have to imagine.
I'm holding it.
Which Jeff wakes
Yeah.
up in the hospital. His face is wrapped in gauze.
How do you like that?
Cast, and he also has a cast on his shoulder and stitchings all over.
I
his
may have a
body.
BF. Oh, W.
Presumably from
W.
getting stabbed. You know, rolling down.
Crazy, a man could put their whole
like,
arm in your gooch and, you know, I get fouled. That's what I'm saying.
Of everything. The story
That's what's
just
up.
went. 3 kids show up at an unrelated kid's birthday party. Billy, the poor victim whose birthday I'm sure was ruined.
L. Billy.
Yeah, I don't think that was a happy
And then
ending to that
all
birthday party.
and then all the parents of the neighborhood in their like you said, their Great Gatsby clothes.
Get the hell
just
outta here.
watch as a fight breaks out. And
Get
Jeff
the hell
kills
out of
3
here. What is
children,
that?
And then he gets set on fire. And it says before he passes out, they're
I could
just
easily beat this guy if I just was able to make threes, but they want me
We
to
are
make 8
presumably
dunks.
thinking that yes, the adults did nothing
Ridiculous.
to stop the death of
Dunk.
4 children.
Thank God he didn't foul me. He was right behind me,
the
and
death
every
of the
time I'm in
4
that
children
situation, they
also
just
was no
grab me
accident.
and pants
It
me and
was
pull
a
me by the nutsack,
full-on
dude.
fight that
Oh my
broke out
gosh,
in the
yes.
house.
One
Yes,
more, one
2
more.
Of the kids did have
Then I
guns
never have
pointing
to
at
touch
their
these people
parents,
ever
but
again.
how could they have let this happen?
It's like
is what I want to know.
It's a child. They are a fat child and a skinny child. You can tackle them. I don't care.
Yeah,
if they have
one
a
of them
gun.
is wheezing. Yeah, one of
They're
them
pulling
is
about me and everything.
wheezing,
He's so cute. That's
like,
the W.
Can't really control his breath because he's so fat. The other one can barely open his eyes. He's a genetic abomination. It's like a pug and a bulldog having a gun. Is what it feels like.
Shoot it. Go ahead.
Hey,
Shoot
hey,
it.
let's-
Shoot
let's
it.
keep
Go
in
ahead.
That's where
mind-
we're at.
Let's keep in mind a nice neighborhood.
Shoot it.
It is a quote-unquote fancy neighborhood. Let's also not forget
Can't shoot for
that
nothing.
it's a quote-unquote fancy neighborhood.
Give me the ball.
All right, which I always, every time I read that, I'm like, it reminds me, it makes me think of like
Jesse
the Desperate
1550
Housewives,
says, "See
like,
crunch. If I
neighborhood.
said I wanted to
Like
grab you and
super
pants you
upper
and
middle
grab you by the
class,
nutsack, then I'd
big
probably get
suburbia
timed out. But
kind
it's
of
fine
thing.
if you
But
say
from
it."
the
And it's just-
events-
Because I'm talking to a robot. I'm a real
it's war
person.
zone. It's like
From the events that happen, it is a literal war zone. So I don't know. I can't tell if also what is his definition of fancy.
Like I had to fish
Is
some
it
stuff
actually-
together so I
is it just
can
like
count my phone.
barely better? Is he just now not?
I
living
read that
in a
already, I
part- We
think.
don't know. Not enough is given.
Yeah.
But we do know that it is quote unquote fancy.
It is fancy.
All right. And if that
Give
is
me
one thing
that.
to
Get
take away from
owned,
this thing,
actually.
it is
So-
quote
Oh my gosh.
unquote fancy.
It is
This
Which
might
I'm
be my
going to say
chance.
from now on, our podcast is
No.
quote unquote fancy. This is a quote unquote
Yeah,
fancy
yeah.
podcast.
Because I mean, just like the story, who's gonna fight us on it? Like we said so. So this is a fancy podcast. This is a respectable podcast. This is a respectful podcast. And it's
Dunk!
I have a feeling.
Yes!
I have a feeling that I felt. Well, I had a feeling that, I felt earlier
Yes!
today that this was a quote-unquote fancy podcast, and I did feel that when I felt it earlier today, and then I had that feeling. So I knew that was what I was going to do. And I did have a feeling, too, that a gang
Let's
of
go.
12-year-olds were going to come and
Kronk
beat
Chuck
the shit out
General,
of me
what's
and,
up?
shoot me in the back of the head with their guns.
Oh, very nice.
Also,
You have you got a poem.
felt
That's
the feeling
W.
of
Good
a
for you,
fancy
man.
Feeling podcast
Dub.
feeling earlier today.
I
W.
did have a fancy feeling. I had a fancy feeling that this would be a fancy podcast that I
Finally.
felt earlier today when I had that feeling.
8 dunks, bro.
That's where
On that
that's where we
dumb
ended up.
team.
That's a
Which-
fancy
Give me
feeling.
my pack. I better get
It
something
is a pretty
crazy out of this
fancy
pack.
feeling, and I'm
Think
gonna
about how much work I
digress
just
by
did
taking
to get
feeling
that.
and putting in this feeling that I need to read more of this story.
And let's see what I get from that
which
pack.
is-
Probably
Jeff
like
is in his
probably like
Yes,
the
go ahead.
worst copper you could ever see in your
Alright,
life.
so
yes.
Jeff's in the hospital.
Oh?
And then he starts.
Okay, I got a
to
pink
go
diamond
to
from
the
that.
vet,
Okay,
you know,
that's
he's
kind of
now
crazy.
Murdered 3 people.
Yes, that is true.
Any misinformation on the
basically
internet.
killed
Do you
one
want to
child
talk about?
twice.
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
pretty
Talk about
Yeah.
what? What are you talking about?
After hours of sitting alone.
Okay, I
he
got this guy.
finally heard
Cool.
his mother.
I mean, I think that's W
"Honey,
for you.
are
Good job.
Okay?
W.
She asked. Jeff couldn't answer though. His face was covered.
Can I
and
pause for a second?
I just realized the
Oh,
wording on that.
at least I got a pink diamond.
Can I pause for a second? Honey, are you okay? She
You are
asked.
sad. It is in
This
your
woman
voice
saw her
tone.
son fight off 3 other
I'm not
people
sad.
trying to kill him.
I'm cautious. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about
was
people's
in a
relationships.
ball
I don't know
of
how
literal
old
fire,
people are.
rolled down steps,
I'm
and
going
basically
to say
died at her
W
feet.
because I don't
And
know.
the first thing she says
I don't know
to
what I'm
her
allowed to
now
say about
conscious,
things
I don't
and
know
whatnot,
how,
and
a miracle child is, honey, are you
all
okay?
that. So I just
Mom, No, I could be a lot better. All right.
The worst.
I keep it neutral.
She sold her son out to the cops.
You met somebody? W. That's all. I mean, that's all I can say. I'm just a limited man here. That's not it. You sound sad. Well, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm not. I'm just very overjoyed. I finally beat that stupid, stupid dunk challenge. Oh my gosh.
That Jeff is still alive. I bet is what I'm looking.
Like, I was so close.
Thank
to
God.
Being free. I was so having my 20s back.
Challenges.
Oh,
Where is it?
Absolutely.
I was angry and sad because I couldn't beat that stupid challenge. I finally beat it. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, I'm good.
So, she asked Honey, "Are you okay?" He was unable to speak. Oh, honey, I have great news.
W.
I don't want to hear anything she has to say.
All right. Well, it's 5 o'clock. But
After
how much more is on this podcast?
The police that Randy confessed.
Oh, it's not even halfway done, bro. That's so long. Crunch is a sad little. He needs more cosplays bought for him to be happy again.
Jesse1550 says Crunch, raid your sister.
Nah. Brother. Just because you said that, I don't feel like I can. I don't feel like I can just because you said that. Yeah, it is, the time has come, everyone. It is 5 o'clock. It is time for Big Man to end the stream. I would like to thank everybody for coming by, though. W stream. Ronk, don't ignore your mental health if you ever want to talk about games or okay, thank you. Yes, W stream, guys. W. Going to sleep like, oh, awesome. Try going to the YouTube chat, going to sleep. That's awesome. Anyways, W chat. I just got monetized on YouTube recently because of my Psychopomp video. Just want to put that out there. Big Man Crunch will be making money from YouTube soon, so that's kind of huge. Bye, Crunch. I joined at the end. Yeah, it's okay. Hey, thanks for coming by, guys. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you. If you don't raid your sister, I'm going to be way worse next stream. That's a promise. I don't care. I do not care. I will ban you. You cannot threaten me with that. I will ban you. I've been raiding her a lot. I haven't raided anyone but her in a hot minute. Let's see here. Who's available? Who's available for big raid here? I need her to do something. All right, fine. We'll raid her. Fine. All right, make sure you go say, you just got crunched. You just got crunched. See you guys next time.